by approximately 70%. So taxpayer dollars can be redirected and our brave immigration law enforcement officers can focus on removing the most violent illegal aliens hiding in our communities. Finally, it was announced this morning that First Lady Melania Trump secured a $25 million investment in President Trump's budget to provide housing and support for youth transitioning out of foster care. And in recognition of the 7th anniversary of Mrs. Trump's Be Best initiative, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development allocated funds toward the agency Foster Youth to Independence program. Yesterday, Mrs. Trump hosted a special celebration of military mothers with the president, bringing together 150 military moms from around the country to recognize their service, not just in their home, but for our country. For those of you who were there at the events yesterday like I did, I have no doubt you will join me in recognizing how truly special those moments were. So let's get to questions. Here in our new media seat today is Andrew Egger, the White House correspondent for The Bulwark. The Bulwark is a new media company launched in 2019 with hundreds of thousands of readers on Substack and more than 1 million subscribers on YouTube. Andrew, please kick us off. And thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Caroline. The president posted another ad this week for his Trump meme coin. The group that's running that coin is encouraging people to buy in order to win a dinner this month with the president. Why is the president planning to attend a dinner for the top investors in his coin?
Look, the president is abiding by all conflict of interest laws. The president has been incredibly transparent with his own personal financial obligations throughout the years. The president is a successful businessman, and I think, frankly, it's one of the many reasons that people reelected him back to this office.
There are at least some people who are buying this coin who seem to view it as an opportunity to influence the president's views. There was a logistics company this week that said they would buy $20 million in the coin in order to advocate for free trade between the U.S. and Mexico. If buyers are buying for that reason, are they wasting their money?
Look, I can assure you the president acts with only the interests of the American public in mind, putting our country first and doing what's best for our country, full stop. That's his intention, and that's what he's focused on. Kristen, good to see you here today. Welcome back.
Caroline. Thank you. Glad to be back. So on those China talks, what does President Trump expect to come out of those talks? And is he going to be disappointed if his team can't secure a deal?
Well, look, the president is very confident in his Secretary of Treasury, Scott Bessent, and of course, Ambassador Jamieson Greer, who has played an instrumental role in all of these trade negotiations as well. I think yesterday's success, the announcement of a trade deal with the United Kingdom, is a great first step. Again, many said in this room it couldn't be done. Now we are moving forward with many other countries. We're talking to dozens of our trading partners around the world. But of course, China is a major country, a major player in this space. And the president has said, and he's right, China needs the United States of America. They need our markets. They need our consumer base. And Secretary Bessent knows that he's going to Switzerland this weekend with the full support and confidence and trust of the president here at home. Jack?
Thanks very much, Caroline. Two questions. First, can you give us an update on U.S. efforts to mediate or have an impact on the conflict between India and Pakistan?
Sure, I absolutely can. This is something that the Secretary of State and, of course, now our National Security Advisor as well, Marco Rubio, has been very much involved in. The president has expressed he wants to see this de-escalate as quickly as possible. He understands these are two countries that have been at odds with one another for decades, long before President Trump was here in the Oval Office. However, he has good relationships with the leaders of both countries, and the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, I spoke to him just yesterday. He has been in constant communication with the leaders of both countries trying to bring this conflict to an end.
Just one other question. Yesterday, we saw the news of the new Pope. Before Pope Leo became Pope Leo, there were some critical comments that he made about President Trump and about Vice President Vance on his X account, then X account. Does the White House have any reaction to those comments?
The president made his reaction to Pope Leo's announcement yesterday very clear. He is very proud to have an American Pope. I think it was a surprise to everyone. I saw the news media was surprised to report on that yesterday, but it's a great thing for the United States of America and for the world, and we are praying for him.
Thanks, Caroline. The president has been pretty firm on keeping these 145% tariffs in place on Chinese imports. Today, via Truth Social, he said that he'd be possibly open to lowering those to 80%. Why the change, and how did the president land on 80?
The president still remains with his position that he is not going to unilaterally bring down tariffs on China. We need to see concessions from them as well. And again, that's part of the reason that Secretary Besson is going to talk to his Chinese counterparts this weekend to start those discussions in person. As for the 80% number, that was a number the president threw out there, and we'll see what happens this weekend. And always in the effort of transparency, I'm sure you'll hear directly from the Treasury Secretary or the president after those negotiations conclude. Jackie.
Thank you, Caroline. Why did the White House announce this deal with the UK before all of the details were finished?
That's not true, actually. I saw the fact sheet. I saw the deal as well before the president brought all of you in the Oval Office in the effort of transparency. You had the president and the prime minister on the phone talking to all of you directly about how this was a great deal, a phenomenal deal, and discussions will continue. But as I spoke to our Ambassador Greer yesterday, this is how trade deals work. You set an initial agreement, you set the framework, you set up the deal, and then of course, T's have to be crossed and I's have to be dotted, but this deal is a good deal, and the numbers are determined, and all of the market access that I just discussed will remain.
Does that mean that the 10% baseline is going to still be there at the end when all of the other details are ironed out?
The president is committed to the 10% baseline tariff, not just for the United Kingdom, but for his trade negotiations with all other countries as well.
Permanently, even after the deals are done, like that is going to remain.
The president is determined to continue with that 10% baseline tariff. I just spoke to him about it earlier. Stephen.
Thank you, Caroline. I'd like to ask about New York and about a personnel matter. On New York, the mayor, Eric Adams, is here today. Could you tell us anything more about the visit, who initiated it, what they're talking about? And also, is there any comment from the White House on the air traffic control issues in New York?
All I will say on Mayor Eric Adams is that he requested a meeting with the president, and the president was willing to take it. If the president wishes to discuss his private meeting afterwards, I will let him do that himself. Yes, I'm glad you asked about the FAA. There was a glitch in the system this morning, especially at Newark Airport. As you all know, I spoke to the Department of Transportation. That glitch was caused by the same telecoms and software issues that were raised last week. Everything went back online after the brief outage, and there was no operational impact. DOT and the FAA are working to address this technical issue tonight to prevent further outages, as well as install new fiber from Newark Airport to Philadelphia. And the goal is to have the totality of this work done by the end of the summer. I want to add that this outage at Newark Airport speaks to why the Secretary of Transportation yesterday made a massive announcement in investing in our aviation safety and our telecom system. There's a 4-part infrastructure plan that was released by the Secretary of Transportation yesterday to improve communication, surveillance, automation, and their facilities. They want to replace the antiquated telecom systems with new fiber, wireless, and satellite technologies, replace more than 600 radars, which have gone way past their life cycle, and address runway safety. They want to build 6 new air traffic control centers for the first time since the 1960s and replace towers as well. They want to implement new modern hardware and software for all traffic facilities to create a common platform system throughout the towers. These are much needed changes. This is a very bold plan by the Department of Transportation. I think it's unfortunate that the previous administration sat on their hands and did nothing, but how grateful we are that we have a Department of Transportation and a secretary and a president who's willing to take bold action and change.
In the personnel matter, Caroline,
ahead.
could I ask?
Thanks, Caroline. Just going back to India, Pakistan, can we expect President Trump to get in touch personally with the leaders of those countries to try and de-escalate this situation?
If and when that happens, we will certainly let you know. Natalie.
Thanks, Caroline. Sure. I have a question about the Middle East trip. Will any of the president's family members, like including Don Jr., Eric, or Jared Kushner, be joining him on the trip?
I am not tracking any of the president's family members joining us at this time, but of course, the first family is welcome to come. I hope they would. They're great people, great to be around, but I'm not tracking them on the manifest.
And given that you noted he is a successful businessman, do you know if the president has any plans to meet with any of the folks involved with any of the family businesses over there, or see any of the sites that are going to be
Not to my knowledge, and let me just get to the premise of your question that both of you have raised. I think it's frankly ridiculous that anyone in this room would even suggest that President Trump is doing anything for his own benefit. He left a life of luxury and a life of running a very successful real estate empire for public service, not just once, but twice. And again, the American public reelected him back to this White House because they trust he acts in the best interests of our country and putting the American public first. This is a president who has actually lost money for being president of the United States. I don't remember these same type of questions being asked of my predecessor about a career politician who was clearly profiting off of this office. That is not what President Trump does, and this White House holds ourselves to the highest of ethical standards. Phil.
Thank you. There's this Reuters report that the U.S. is in talks with Israel about an American-led post-war administration in Gaza. Is that accurate? Are these talks ongoing?
We are in constant communication and dialogue with our counterparts and our allies and friends in Israel. Ron Dermer was here at the White House yesterday meeting with members of President Trump's team. As for the situation in Gaza, the president and his entire national security team have made it very clear we want to see the hostages released from Gaza. That is a priority for this administration. As for what that looks like, and even moving beyond that, I'm not going to get into the details of plans that frankly may or may not have even been proposed, but I can emphasize what the president holds closest in his heart right now, and that's the release of all of the hostages in Gaza.
And then there's been some conservative pushback to some of these salt tax, the salt tax cap. For instance, Majority Leader Steve Scalise said that bringing back the state and local tax deduction would essentially mean, quote, 45 states are subsidizing 5 states that have very high taxes imposed by leftist governors. Is he wrong? Is it fair to ask red Indiana to bail out blue New York?
Well, look, this is an ongoing discussion on the Hill. There's a lot of disagreement on Capitol Hill right now about the SALT tax proposal, and we will let them work it out. As for the tax provisions in the reconciliation bill, the priorities of this president, he has made them incredibly clear. No tax on tips for our hardworking service workers, no tax on Social Security for our well-deserving seniors who have worked their whole lives to pay into this system, no tax on overtime for hardworking Americans as well, and there's a plethora of other priorities the president wants to see in this bill. Anyone who opposes this bill will be opposing the largest tax cut in American history. They will be voting to raise taxes by the tune of $4 trillion on the middle class of this country, and we look forward to holding them accountable for that. Everyone on Capitol Hill on both sides of the aisle should be supportive of the president's tax priorities.
Follow up on that?
Go ahead. Sure. Go ahead, and then I'll go to your follow-up.
Thanks, Caroline. I want to follow up on the Truth Social post. So the president's saying 80% tariffs could come down. Just an announcement would be enough to lower those tariffs. Is that what he's looking for from the Chinese concessions?
That's not what the president said. He said that an 80% number may sound good to him, but again, he's in constant contact with our Secretary of Treasury, who will be leading these negotiations this weekend.
And historically, the Chinese have made the meeting itself a win. What does a win look like out of these meetings for the president this weekend?
A good deal for the American worker and the American people. Go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline. Yeah, back to the reconciliation bill. Can you just clarify the president's position, though, a little bit specifically on the tax issue? Because in his Truth Social post, he said this morning that he would accept even a tiny tax increase for the rich, but then says Republicans probably shouldn't do it, but I'm okay if they do it. So what is it that he wants? Does he want them to increase the tax rates?
The president wants tax cuts, the largest tax cuts in history. He wants to extend his historic tax cuts from 2017, and he wants to see all of the other tax priorities that I just laid out for you included in this bill as well. As for the policy proposal you're talking about, the president has said he himself personally would not mind paying a little bit more to help the poor and the middle class and the working class in this country. I think, frankly, that's a very honorable position. But again, these negotiations are ongoing on Capitol Hill, and the president will weigh in when he feels necessary.
Encourage them to have a higher bracket for top earners?
The president has made his personal position on this matter clear. Michael. The president's in constant communication with leaders on the Hill.
Ahead of the president's trip to the Middle East, he's mentioned he wants to rename the Persian Gulf the Gulf of Arabia. Iran is now saying that doing so will bring the wrath of all Iranians. Can you talk about the support that the Gulf of Arabia has in the region and why this is important to the president?
Well, first of all, the president has said he hasn't made a determination yet. That was in the news that you guys all asked him about it, and he said he wasn't quite sure. So he hasn't made a definitive decision on that yet.
And secondly, Caroline, the president has shown support for South African refugees that are coming to the United States next week. Can you talk about what these refugees are fleeing and why this is a priority for the administration?
Well, the president has actually signed an executive order on that matter matter, my office can get it back to you, Michael. But this group in South Africa has faced racial persecution. In fact, the government there has vowed to take away their farmland that they own. And so the president has talked significantly about this. As for further details on refugee claims and asylum claims, I would defer you to the State Department.
Can I follow up on that?
Go ahead. No, in front of you.
Thanks, sorry.
Sure.
Thanks, Caroline. Does the administration have any response to the news today that a federal judge has ordered the immediate release of Ramesa Ozturk from detention, and particularly his comments that the government submitted no evidence other than an op-ed that Ozturk wrote last year?
I will have to check in with the Department of Homeland Security on that particular case, but I think our overall feeling, we've made quite clear that lower level judges should not be dictating the foreign policy of the United States, and we absolutely believe that the President and the Department of Homeland Security are well within their legal rights to deport illegal immigrants. As for visa revocations, the Secretary of State has the right to do that as well. It is a privilege, not a right, to come to this country on a visa. But I'll check in on the specific case. My office will get you details. Sure.
Caroline, yesterday the administration appears to have started dismantling the Consumer Product Safety Commission. This is the federal agency, an independent one that does recalls and is responsible for product safety. Does the administration not believe that it's important, to keep toys and cribs? I mean, you're a young mom, off of the product of the market.
It's a federal agency within which branch? It's the executive branch. Who's the head of the executive branch? The President of the United States.
Created by Congress.
He has the right to fire people within the executive branch. It's a pretty simple answer. Francesca.
Thanks. One foreign policy one and then a domestic policy thing, if I could. As far as the president's trip goes next week, is he planning to meet with the FIFA president in either Saudi Arabia or Qatar? And if so, could you give us some more details about that?
The president has quite a few meetings with many people when he is there. We can certainly check at the itinerary and let you know if the FIFA president will be there next week. Frankly, I'm not quite sure, but we can certainly get you an answer. As you know, the president attended a FIFA task force meeting at the White House this week.
And on the domestic front, could you explain why the FEMA administrator was removed from his position this week?
Look, this is a personnel matter in regards to the Department of Homeland Security, but my understanding is that this individual testified saying something that was contrary to what the president believes and the goals of this administration in regards to FEMA policy. And so, of course, we want to make sure that people in every position are advancing the administration's goals. But as for specifics, I defer you to the Department of Homeland Security. We leave it up to our great cabinet secretaries when it comes to personnel matters. Sure, in the back.
Thank you. Aid hasn't gone into Gaza in 10 weeks. Israel says that this is a policy to pressure Hamas in the negotiations, in the ceasefire negotiations. Is this a policy that this administration supports?
The president answered this week. He said that he wants to ensure that aid can get into Gaza, but we have to do it in a responsible way to ensure it doesn't end up in the hands of terrorists. So this is something the administration is actively working on, and when we have a policy to announce on this definitively, we can certainly let you know.
Can you talk about this effort for the U.S. to take over the distribution of aid in Gaza, to exclude Israel, but also international organizations said this effort militarizes aid?
I would reject that characterization by whatever groups you are citing. Kelly.
Caroline, thank you. I want to get back to the First Lady Melania Trump dealing with foster children. That's an important component in American life to see what happens to the future of our children, particularly in foster care. Can you explain the significance of this development between the First Lady and the housing and urban development?
Yes, absolutely. It's millions of dollars that will go into a program that helps these children transition out of foster care to have productive and positive lives. And I'd like to share a personal story since you asked if I may. I hope the First Lady won't mind. I was at an event in Florida last year, and I was approached by a gentleman who was a foster dad, and he had taken in I think it was 6 or 7 foster children. And he spoke to me. He had recognized me in my work for President Trump's campaign at the time. And the little boy who was with him talked about the personal relationship that he had with First Lady Melania Trump. and the conversation she had with him and how she really encouraged him to be the best that he could be during her first term here at the White House, and how even after she and President Trump left the White House, she kept in very close touch with this young foster child. It was a touching moment that I will never forget, and it speaks to the heart of this First Lady and the great work that she is doing for foster children. And this is certainly a very big announcement that I know our Secretary of Housing and Urban Development is in particular very excited about, and we can certainly get you all the details on that program. John.
Thanks a lot, Caroline. I want to ask you about the trade deal that the president announced yesterday with the UK as it relates to the auto sector.
Sure.
The trade group that represents the big three here in the US believes that it may put the big three automakers at a competitive disadvantage. What the trade group says is that it will now be cheaper to import a UK vehicle with very little American content than a USMCA compliant vehicle imported from Mexico or Canada with just 50% American content. What's your response to that criticism coming from this trade group?
Well, first of all, let's be clear about what the deal does. It sets a 10% rate on auto imports for the first 100 cars that are imported into the United States. 100,000 cars, thank you. That would be very few cars. 100,000 cars imported from the United Kingdom. After 100,000 vehicles, it goes back up to a 25% tariff. And as for our U.S. auto manufacturers, our auto industry, the president wants to put them on the best pedestal to compete. And by the way, if they produce vehicles right here in the United States of America, they will face no tariff at all. I would argue of any industry, the president has spent more time talking to and listening to the concerns of our auto industry here at home. He hears them, he believes in them, he wants to see them produce their vehicles here in the United States of America. This is a good deal for them too.
Is this a model for European and Asian vehicles as well, what we see coming out of the UK trade deal with the US?
Look, all of these deals are going to be tailor-made. The president has said that from the beginning. It's very apropos that the first trade deal was announced between the United States and the United Kingdom, one of our oldest and greatest allies, but each country has unique concerns and challenges in terms of American industry. We need to open up markets in every single country, and obviously the needs are unique, so our trade team is looking at each country and the advantages that we can pursue for American industries and American workers. Sure.
Happy early Mother's Day. Oh, thank you. The president said yesterday that he would be speaking with Zelensky shortly. Did that call happen yesterday, or do we expect that to happen in the near term?
The call happened yesterday. President Zelensky called the president to tell him that the critical minerals deal had passed the parliament in Ukraine. I talked to the president about that call. He said it was very good and productive, and of course the critical minerals deal is great for Ukraine, but also of course for the United States of America and our taxpayers here. It was a good call, and they also spoke about, of course, this ceasefire that the president proposed, the 30-day ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine, which we know Europe is on board with, and we hope both countries will agree to.
So next week, do we expect President Putin, is there any chance that he could meet with Trump while he's in the region?
The president answered this yesterday. Not going to happen.
Question on ceasefire. Has he got any reaction from Zelensky or Putin on the proposal for ceasefire? Is he satisfied by the reaction to that proposal?
This is now a time to maybe corner them. Fine, I don't say militarily or just kill them all. But the point is, there could have been a spot where the world could have cornered them. Then when will you stop? America found Osama bin Laden hiding in Pakistan after 10 years of carrying out joint operations. What more proofs do you need that they don't care what you think, because they know they'll get your money? So you should have given, the IMF should have given this a chance this time, that we could have cornered them, that we will not support you till the time you mend your ways. But you lost the chance again this time, and it will continue to be the same story, that everybody thinks, oh, they are going to be like this, we give them money or not, so let's give them some more. That's not I don't think that's the right way to go. Anyway, coming on the, what originally Akanksha asked, that the high alert in all the cities is as expected on the lines, because the thing is, one, war is a brutal business. While we are celebrating all our successes, there is a possibility an odd missile might make it through and land on our cities also. Pakistan has been hitting our civil areas by drone and artillery since past almost a week now. So everybody has to be ready for that contingency. It's good to shout that go war, fight, kill everybody, but I mean, there's a possibility that we also might get hurt at some stage. Hence, we should. It's a good decision for government to issue this alert right now,
Okay.
and along with it, the civil administration comes into action, and they will issue necessary directions to everyone.
Okay, stay with me. Going to request all of you gentlemen to continue staying with me. Also joined in by Sushant Sareen, who's a senior fellow at the ORF. Sushant, what a morning to wake up to. India's made some massive strategic victories today when it came to, in fact, reducing those 3 air bases to rubble. And we've not just targeted Pakistan's commercial capital, you're looking at the national capital as well. I'd like your thoughts.
Akansha, you are being very presumptive that you thought people went off to sleep last night. I tried to, but within half an hour, I was so restless that I got up, and then I would imagine that
You should have joined in much earlier then. I'm going to hold this against you.
yeah, but the thing is that I just came to the thought that if Kargil was the first television war in India, this conflict is the first. I can't call it a war as yet, but this is the first Twitter or X war in this part of the world. But look, something was being expected because yesterday, when the Pakistanis had attacked, and they've been attacking us, this is the third night that they attacked us. On the second night after they attacked us, we had the press conference yesterday by the Foreign Secretary, and I would have thought that the Foreign Secretary had given them an off-ramp because he spoke in very measured tones, as he normally does, but he said that the Pakistanis had carried out these attacks, and the Indians, we retaliated in 4 places. He didn't say what the scale of retaliation was, but the way he said it, it was that, okay, fine, we've done it. We are not making a big song and dance about it. We are not gloating about it. We are not making a big deal out of it. And this can become an off-ramp for both sides. And that is the impression I got when I was in the evening when I was on your channel. This is exactly what my impression was. And I think Major Jolly was there at that time, if I'm mistaken, not. And my impression was that, we've said, okay, fine, let's take this off-ramp. But clearly the Pakistanis have this habit of biting off a lot more than they can chew. And they thought that, obviously some damage must have been done. And just because their attacks have not been successful over the last 3 days, that does not give them a free pass. And the thing is that, so quite clearly, I think the message from the Indian side was that if they are now going to start continuing doing this, then we will also hit back and hit back hard. And I think that is what has happened tonight. A lot of these rumors were actually doing the rounds yesterday, but apparently it's happened today. So I think now we are in a completely different situation because the kind of retaliation India has done, it's very clear that the Pakistanis are going to try and hit back. How will they hit back? The reports, which if we can make some sense out of them, there is that they are going to use their air power and they're going to try and strike at targets inside India. And we'd have to see how the rest of the air defenses, which have performed exceedingly well against drone attacks, how they perform against the Pakistani fighting.
Stay
number
with me.
one.
All right, finish the point because I have some breaking inputs coming in.
Number 2, are they going to start the use of ballistic missiles? Because then we will also go up. Because so far we have not used any ballistic missile. At least there is no report of that. Even the Pakistanis are saying that all the attacks that we've done is from air to ground missiles.
Yes.
These are fighters and which have been used. And so if the Pakistanis are now going to scale up, then I think the response from the Indian side will be similar.
All right. I'm afraid I'll have to interrupt you there, Sushant, because we have some big breaking inputs coming in. After 3 air bases, India has now hit at the Sukur airport in Sindh. This is another massive blast in Rawalpindi that has taken place. We can officially confirm this through sources that have shared information with Network 18's Security Affairs Editor, Mr. Manoj Gupta. Big breaking input coming in. A 4th blast now as India has hit the Sukur airport in Sindh. As I must tell you that this is a domestic airport, also known as the Begum Nusrat Bhutto airport. In fact, Ayushman joins me with more breaking information on that. Ayushman, what more details can you share with us?
Absolutely, Akanksha. As we've been tracking all these sites that have been targeted by the air-to-surface missiles coming in from the Indian forces, more information coming in where Rawalpindi has now seen another blast. This is what top sources are telling CNN News 18. Information brought to us by our securities editor Manoj Gupta. Also, as you were pointing out, the Sukur airport in the Sindh area also now being targeted by these air-to-surface missiles as India unleashes on these particular sites in Pakistan in retaliation to Pakistan's drone attacks along the international border as well as the LOC. So we can just add it to the list of the attacks which are coming in. The Sukur airport has been targeted in Sindh. In Rawalpindi there is another blast, and as we were reporting earlier, Islamabad, the Noor Khan airbase, the Murid airbase, Shekhpura, the Rafiki airbase, Narowal and Lahore also being targeted by the Indian forces. Air-to-surface missiles deployed when it comes to this offensive coming in from India.
Absolutely. I want to go back to Sushant. In fact, Sushant, before I come to you, let me bring in Major Jolly, who continues to stay with us. Major Jolly, 3 air bases and now a domestic airport. What do you make of the kind of strategic edge that India has displayed today?
It is fantastic. Actually, this is how it should be. If you're fighting a war, it's not a exchange of niceties. You are not expected to it is what India is doing. You take out the air bases. Then I just read somewhere that maybe an air battle is fine. This can be all misinformation. But taking out why they are taking out the other airport is because the moment wars happen, there are some airports which can act as a dual capability, civil as well as military. So if you're obviously the planners, I won't get into detail of that. The planners have decided that we are going to demolish or even mitigate any possibility of aircrafts taking off of this region, because whatever their bigger plan is. But we hold superiority. That's the point to note here. The kind of superiority that we are, the word is enjoys actually. India enjoys right now that absolutely no air defense. India is striking when and wherever we want. This looks like a World War II kind of a setup when the smaller countries didn't have air defense and you could go and send missiles everywhere. So this is fantastic position to be in.
I want to quickly bring in Glenn on that note. Glenn, what is your assessment of the way India has hit out at the air bases? Now this domestic airport, what does it speak of not just our defense, but also our offensive capabilities and the defense preparedness so far?
Well, so far, it appears that India's modernization program of recent years has been bearing fruit. We have all been reading that it's only in the mid-process and that India was far from having really modernized doctrine, training, and equipment, but at present, it's an impressive performance. I can comment more substantively on the policy implications or objectives. India seems to me to have clear objectives that it's trying to achieve. One, obviously, to stop terrorism. These conventional attacks won't do that, but as a response to a terrorist act, they're completely understandable. And then 2 is to make the point and then stop having made the point. That's clear and sensible. Pakistan's objectives seem to me a lot murkier or incoherent. One could understand a response for pride and national sovereignty. But as one of the gentlemen said, it seemed clear also that India has been providing the off-ramps that one wants to in this sort of response. And Pakistan is not taking them, and I see nothing positive that Pakistan can achieve out of all of this.
Stephen, I want to bring you in quickly about the way the Indian government has in fact put this out. They've said that these are going to be custom match attacks because remember just a day ago our own military installations, whether Udhampur or Pathankot, all of them were attacked. So this is indeed a custom match attack.
Well, you may see it that way. I may see it that way. Pakistan
probably doesn't and see it that way, or even if it does, I get back to the notion of the leadership there saving face, that being their possible imperative here in what generally is, I agree with Glenn, kind of a chaotic handling of this whole confrontation. And we shouldn't underestimate the extent to which they may be wanting to save face as this matter unfolds. The fact that India is now on high alert for return attacks means that I would think the Indian government is assessing that Pakistan might very possibly strike back. What does India do next? That's a good question if that happens. And I've said this before, but I hope that one way or another, a way is found to de-escalate this, maybe mediation by a third party. But we don't want this to get to a point where Pakistan sees no alternative to saving face other than using its ultimate nuclear weapons. Again, I don't think it'll come to that for all sorts of reasons, but we are in very, very dangerous territory now by virtue of that as even a small possibility.
All right, Stephen Golub, thank you very much for joining us. If you're joining us early this morning, it's been a night of attacks and counterattacks. There's been a major escalation in the last few hours. It started with Pakistan trying to send ballistic missiles. That is a major step from these drones that they were sending for the last couple of nights. A major escalation by Pakistan trying to send ballistic missiles to at least 6 different places, all of which has been successfully intercepted. India, in return, has attacked multiple places in Pakistan. The latest that we're hearing is that the Sukur Airbase in Sindh has been attacked. The Noor Khan Ali base in Punjab has also been attacked. So there are multiple locations where this is being attacked by surface-to-air missiles. Pakistan, in response, has now closed its airspace up until noon today, which means this is where India is hit. It is hit close to Islamabad. It has hit the Noor Khan Airbase in Rawalpindi, in Sheikhpura, in Chakwal, which is the Murid Airbase, also in Narowal, the Rafiki Airbase in Shorkot. So you have about 6 or 7 places where India is hit with surface-to-air missiles in what is clearly now the next rung of escalation. We're given to understand that Pakistan is scrambling its jets in response. We don't know what the nature of Pakistan's response is going to be, but this has been a major escalation after Pakistan managed to get that $1 billion tranche of the IMF loan, as well as, of course, after the visit of the Deputy Foreign Minister of Saudi Arabia to Islamabad. So I think somewhere the calculation now by both sides is that they're now climbing into the next step of the escalation ladder. What happens in the next few hours, we don't know. There is some kind of a response coming from Pakistan. India is, of course, 100% prepared for it. In about 20 minutes' time, I'm given to understand, there will be a briefing in South Block by senior officials of the Defense Forces. We will bring you up to speed as and when we know who is addressing the media. Clearly, it's been a night of major escalation from Lahore to Sindh, Rawalpindi. Multiple air bases have been targeted by India. There's also, by the way, drones that have been hanging around major cities, including Lahore, Islamabad, and Rawalpindi. In Haryana, over the skies over Sirsa, we're given to understand that the Fatah 2, the missile that Pakistan had launched, has been intercepted. So major escalation. There was an attempt by Pakistan to hit the Jammu Air Force Station as well. That too has been intercepted by India's air defenses. So from Lahore to Sindh, India is matching Pakistan tit for tat in what has been a major escalation by both sides. Pakistan, of course, deciding to climb that escalatory ladder after the decision of the International Monetary Fund to give it the $1 billion tranche of its loan, as well as, of course, after the visit of the Saudi foreign minister. Now, Pakistan seems to have made a calculation that they want to up the ante. We're getting more breaking news. This is again a bid by Pakistan to try and escalate the attack. The bid has been thwarted. Pakistan tried to attack the Jammu Air Force Station. Remember, Jammu has been in the target for the last 2 or 3 nights now. Remember the drone attacks that happened a couple of nights ago. It started with an attack on the Jammu airport. Now the Jammu Air Force Station was tried to be attacked by Pakistan using some form of missile. We're not sure what nature of missile they tried to use, but that attack, that attempt by Pakistan has been intercepted by India's air defense. So major escalation that has now been thwarted. Also earlier this morning, an attempt was made over Hisar in Haryana. That too has been thwarted by the Indian Defence Forces. Let me try and see if we can go across to Akash first, our defence reporter. Akash, just paint the night for us. Where all has Pakistan tried to attack us, and where all has India responded to this Pakistani escalation?
Right. So it started late in the evening yesterday. In fact, we saw that the ceasefire violations from evening, but then the drone attacks and also the missile came at around 8 p.m. And again, starting from Jammu and Samba, we saw the initial reports and in fact the confirmation that how, drones have been coming, but all of these were thwarted. But this time around, Indian authorities and in fact the agencies, retaliated, and a strong retaliation was there. Noor Khan Airbase, that is in Rawalpindi, Shorkot Airbase, that is in Punjab, that have their JF-17 squadron, and Murid Airbase, that is again in Punjab. We have been told that these air bases have been hit, and in fact the assets, their air assets, including the air defense system, has been hit by Indian forces. We have seen the DGI-SPR confirmation as well, though we will wait for the official confirmation from the Indian Armed Forces, Zaka. But at this point in time, while we are talking, in fact in Jammu, we have been hearing a lot of AD gun sounds, and possibly there was an attempt to destroy some sort of asset or the infrastructure in Air Force station here in Jammu, but it has been thwarted. Our air defense is very much working. AD gun is importantly playing a major role this time around because we have upgraded and in fact incorporated the counter drone technologies in our AD gun systems. So at this point in time, while it is about Jammu, it's the early morning hours, and in fact just a while back we were hearing the air sirens, in fact Zaka, but we have been told that the attempt has been thwarted. In fact a missile was launched towards Delhi as well. This is what we are learning. In fact, Manoj Gupta is bringing us this input where a missile was launched towards Delhi, but it has been intercepted in Sirsa, and in fact the attempt to attack Delhi has been thwarted, Zaka.
All right, so that was the Fatah-2 missile that Pakistan tried to launch to Delhi. It's been intercepted in the skies over Sirsa. Let's try and bring you up to speed with the counter-offensive that India has launched. It's been a very hot night between India and Pakistan. India has launched multiple missile as well as drone strikes starting from Islamabad in the north, Noor Khan Air Base in Rawalpindi. It's one of the largest air bases of the Pakistan Air Force. That has been hit. The Murid Air Base in Chakwal, again, a substantially big air base of the Pakistan Air Force in Murid, in Chakwal. That has also been hit. In Sheikhpura, a third air base in Rafiki, which is in Shorkat, which is further south. All of these are in Punjab, in the very heart of Pakistan, as it were, in Shorkat. The Rafiki Air Base of the Pakistan Air Force has also been hit. And we have one more, the Sukur Airport in Sindh. So Punjab and Sindh, which are the two biggest provinces in Pakistan, have been hit. Also in Narowal and Lahore, but these I think are smaller drone attacks. But India has also replied with ballistic missile attacks in response to what Pakistan tried to do. It launched the Fatah-2 directed at Delhi, but it was intercepted at the skies over Haryana. Let's try and go across to more reporters. Aishman is also joining us from our newsroom. So Aishman, can you bring us up to speed with the places where Pakistan tried to attack overnight and India's air defense systems have intercepted and brought down these Pakistani missiles.
Absolutely, Zaka. We've been tracking through the night the attacks that have been coming in from the Pakistani forces. We saw how they lit up the entire border area all the way from the north in Kupwara, in Uri, where the ceasefire violations were taking place. Then we saw the drone strikes which were taking place in the Jammu area, all the way down to Bhuj. There were several attacks coming in from the Pakistan side, several drone strikes which were coming in from the Pakistan side, which were intercepted by India's advanced air defense system. And that is the latest update that we are getting from our investigations editor, Manoj Gupta, who's also looking at every aspect of the escalating tensions between India and Pakistan, with the Fateh 2 missile that has been launched by Pakistan towards Delhi was intercepted at Sirsa. So India's air defense systems continue to be robust, countering any offensive coming in from Pakistan. Pakistan tried those offensives when it came to targeting the military as well as certain civilian areas along the line of control and the international border, all the way from Jammu and Kashmir down to Rajasthan, even to Bhuj in near the Gujarat area. But clearly the air defense system was deterring all those attacks. But the tensions continue to escalate between the two sides because Pakistan is now priming its counter-offensive.
All right, Ayushmann, we'll leave it at that. I think the big news that we have is that it's been a hot night between India and Pakistan over the last 4 or 5 hours. The escalation started by Pakistan right after its announcement that the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, has approved a tranche of $1 billion for Pakistan as part of a $7 billion package that was agreed to a few years ago. The big development is that India has hit multiple air bases of Pakistan from Punjab to Sindh. Pakistan has tried to send ballistic missiles. One of them, the Fateh 2, which is a medium-range ballistic missile with a range of about 400 kilometers, tried to, or at least sent in the direction of New Delhi, which is the national capital, but got intercepted, I'm given to understand, by the Barak air defense missile, the surface-to-air missile. It has been intercepted there, and it has been brought down in the skies over Sirsa in Haryana. Let me go across to our guests in what is, I'm afraid, a very, very serious escalation over the last 4 or 5 hours. Lieutenant General retired Sanjay Kulkarni is joining us, former DG of Infantry. Sushant Sareen, Senior Fellow at the Observer Research Foundation, is with us. Glenn Carl, former CIA officer, is also with us. Let me start with you, Lieutenant General. What do you make of this sudden and serious escalation by Pakistan? India, of course, responding measure for measure. Do you reckon now we are in the next rung, as it were, of the escalation ladder? We've now climbed to the second rung. Now both countries are sending ballistic missiles at each other.
Good morning, Zaka. Good morning to my fellow panelists. Definitely, I think in the escalatory ladder, we've gone a notch higher, because in the 8th, we had the Pakis fire about 400 odd missiles and drones towards India. All of them, of course, neutralized. Well, yes, last night also almost similar, when we saw at around 9ish when things started off from Pakistan side. Most of the targets again from, like on the 8th, it was from, we could say from Leh to Sir Creek. Yesterday night, it was almost closer to that. Most of our airfields and some of the towns in and around the airfields were having, they were trying to strike them. Jammu primarily was one. But then what I hear from what you are saying, that at night they attempted to strike Delhi with Fateh 2 and being intercepted at Sirsa. Obviously now it required to go up the escalation ladder, because so far we've been attempting to keep everything restrained, well, non-escalatory, but it's time now. There's no more restraint and no more non-escalatory. Not, I wouldn't even call it tit for tat, just give it back, and give it back in measures that Pakistan realizes that it's too much. You can't be doing it. I think Pakistan doesn't seem to realize, and we have to hit at the source of terror. And the source of terror is the Pakistan army. We have to make sure that all assets of the Pakistan army have to be hit, and none better than where it hurts the most. And this, the airfield was one, the nerve center, Rawalpindi, yet another one which needs to be hit, so that the Pakistanis realize it, that if they try and go up the escalatory ladder, because we attempted to hit the locations of the terrorists. Those 9 locations for those 25 minutes and 24 missiles, and that was, we thought the Operation Sindoor was all over. But unlike that, when they struck India, it was they struck India. And therefore, when they've struck India, now they get it back. Even for the first 2 nights, I thought we were quite patient. We ought not to have been so patient. But notwithstanding that, since it's all over, we tried to show our patience. But now, obviously, the patience run out, and Pakistan needs to be paid back, not in the same coin, much higher. And now the time has come.
So
to give
there are
it
at
back
least
in.
3 Pakistani Air Force air bases that India has hit, including the Noor Khan Air Base, one of the biggest in Pakistan. Sushant Sareen, what do you make of what's been going on over these last 4-5 hours? Is this now definitely both sides climbing up the escalation ladder? The attempt by Pakistan to try and send a missile to Delhi, that is a serious, serious escalation. How do you think that is being viewed in New Delhi? We believe there's going to be a briefing by the armed forces in the next few minutes, but what's your assessment?
Zaka, I would imagine that the Pakistani attempt to fire a missile at Delhi uh, would have really, let's say, would have lifted some of the restraints that the Indians have been putting on themselves over the last 2 days. For 2 nights, we've been having these kind of attacks taking place, and the Indian response has been very, very carefully calibrated. So, if the Pakistanis were sending in drones and some light missiles, the Indians were responding similarly. The only difference between the two sides was that the Indian retaliation to Pakistani attacks was a little more successful than what the Pakistanis were attempting to do. The same thing happened last night. And then tonight, I think the Pakistanis really tried to up the ante. First, they tried to attack Jammu and another 26 places, and then they launched these missiles at Delhi. And I imagine that that preposterous and ridiculous statement of their DG ISPR, who's the son of an internationally designated terrorist, incidentally. His father is an internationally proscribed UN designated terrorist, right? For his association with Osama bin Laden. That that guy is the DG ISPR. Now he says that 6 missiles were launched from Adampur, on 5 of them on Amritsar and one on Adampur itself. So from Adampur, we launched a missile in Adampur and one in Amritsar, say 5 in Amritsar, to kill 6. How stupid can he be? But he is. So clearly, I think from the Indian point of view, there has been this messaging going across that, listen, we are giving you off ramps, take them. If you're not going to take them, then we are going to hit you back. Now, I would say that technically, we haven't really gone up the escalation ladder. Because look at it this way, the Pakistanis have been trying to hit our air bases. They've been trying to hit Pathankot. They've been trying to hit Avantipura. They've been trying to hit Amritsar. They've tried to hit a number of other Adampur and other air bases, right? So it's not that they've not tried to hit our air bases, just they've not been successful. So what have we done? We have also hit their air bases. We've used drones, and I'm now going by Pakistani accounts because we still don't have any Indian official accounts. The Pakistanis have claimed that the attacks on some of their air bases were from air to surface, which means that it were Indian aircraft which were firing those missiles from the air. And that is something which has been done in the past as well. So it is not, in that sense, a very significant escalation. We haven't as yet used ballistic missiles, surface to surface missiles. So we have also kept under a certain threshold so far. Just that our attacks have been a lot more successful. Okay. And theirs have failed. Now, you cannot launch an assault on me and then claim the failure of your assault as a virtue and play victim. I'm sorry, that does not work. You launched an attack, it failed. I now am launching a counter attack, which seems to have gone down fairly well. But let's not kid ourselves. We are now going to be climbing up the escalation ladder because the Pakistanis are going to try and come back at us with full force. And let's see, the next few hours, maybe this day will be a very critical day. Let's also not kid ourselves, Zaka, and I think we should be prepared. Our people should be prepared that there will be things which will get through our defenses. There will be casualties, there will be damage, there will be loss. and we should man up and take it all.
Okay.
And then go and go and take some more.
Yeah, I just want to bring in
I think we need to be
a
prepared
word.
for entering into that phase.
Yeah, a word that top government sources have told our investigations editor Manoj Gupta. We can break that as well. This is a message, and I guess this will be a message that will be conveyed by the defense folks who will be briefing the media, I believe, at 5:45 on the south lawns of the South Block. This is what top government sources have told Manoj Gupta, that Pakistan should try and understand that all that India is doing is commitment to a proportionate response, and that they should stop now. Pakistan should stop now. Otherwise, the next time India will have to be forced to climb the escalation ladder. So Pakistan needs to get the message and needs to stop now. It needs to stop sending all of these ballistic missiles. The Fatah 2 was attempted to hit Delhi, but it got intercepted in the skies over Haryana. Let me also try and go back to our reporters before I go back to the guests. Look, over the last 6 hours or so, there has been an attempt by Pakistan through drones, through ballistic missiles, to try and hit India at multiple places, multiple air stations. Let's try and go full frame to that. Multiple air stations have been targeted in Jammu. Jammu Airbase particularly seems to be one area where the Pakistanis have been trying for the last 3 nights to try and cause some damage. We've had drone attacks last night in Srinagar. We've also had an attempt to try and take down the Avantipura airbase, also in Amritsar, the airbase there, as well as, of course, the airbase that we have in Haryana. But in response, India has attacked at least 3 air bases. 2 of them are major air bases for Pakistan. The Noor Khan Air Base in Rawalpindi, one of the biggest that Pakistan has. The Murid Air Base in Chakwal, which is also nearby. Both of these, of course, are right in the heart of Punjab. Then there is the Rafiki Air Base, a smaller one in Shorkot in southern Punjab. And then the Sukur Airport, which is used both for civilian and defense purposes in Sindh. So both in Punjab and in Sindh, there have been major attacks by the Indian armed forces. We're given to understand that at least some of these have been surface-to-air missiles, and some of these have been air-to-surface missiles, so they've been launched from a fighter jet. We'll try and get further information of that, but this is how it is looking right now. If Akash and let's get a sense of who are the other reporters that we have on the ground. We'll go across to Akash in just a moment, but it has been a night of heavy exchange of fire, drones and missiles between India and Pakistan. Pakistan climbing up the escalation ladder in a dramatic sort of upping of the ante, as it were, soon after the announcement by the International Monetary Fund of a tranche of $1 billion to Pakistan as part of an agreed-upon package of $7 billion over a period of 3 or 4 years. Now Pakistan tried to send a ballistic missile towards India, intercepted in the skies over Sirsa in Haryana. It was directed at Delhi. Imagine if that missile had been successful and there was damage here in Delhi. That would have been a serious escalation of the situation between India and Pakistan, as it were. It seems to be that the Pakistani military leadership is being given a very solid and definitive message by the Indian military leadership. Back off now. Do not escalate. There you go. I want to once again bring you up to speed. So the smaller blasts that you're seeing on the map, Islamabad, Narowal, Lahore, these are all drone attacks that India has managed to pierce the Pakistani air defense and hit some of these places, including Sheikhpura, etc. But the airbase attacks that have been hit, those are missiles. Those are medium-range missiles that India has used. Like I said, in response, matching Pakistani aggression, Pakistan trying even with their ballistic missiles to pierce India's air defenses and hit some key defense installations as well as civilian installations here in India. This is India's response, and India is also sending out a message to Pakistan: please refrain from climbing further up the escalation ladder. All right, let's try and play out some of those visuals. I believe we have visuals from the Noor Khan base that was struck by India's missiles. Let's try and play out that video, and I'll come back to our guests and our reporters.
और ये नूर खान बेस के ऊपर अटैक हुआ है। भाईजान नूर खान बेस में आके गिरा है। ये अटैक हुआ है नूर खान बेस पे, बिल्कुल घर के सामने। अभी एक जहाज़ गुजरा है और ये नूर खान बेस के ऊपर अटैक हुआ है। भाईजान नूर खान बेस में आके गिरा है। ये अटैक हुआ है नूर खान बेस पे, बिल्कुल घर के सामने। अभी एक जहाज़ गुजरा है और ये नूर खान बेस के ऊपर अटैक हुआ है। भाईजान नूर खान बेस में आके गिरा है। ये अटैक हुआ है नूर खान बेस पे।
Right, let me go across to Akash. Akash, just bring our viewers up to speed if they're just tuning in at 5:45 this morning. It's been a very, very hot night between India and Pakistan. Multiple locations in Pakistan have been hit, including at least 3 air bases. Pakistan has tried to dramatically escalate, go up the escalation ladder. Pakistan has tried to hit, among other places, even the national capital by launching a ballistic missile. It has been intercepted successfully by India's air defenses. It's been a night where they have tried drones as well as missiles. What are top defense sources telling you, Akash? What is going on in these last 4 or 5 hours?
Right, Zaka, first of all, in some time from now, we are going to have a press conference from the armed forces where we will be getting some sort of details of the sort of developments that have happened throughout the night. But at this point in time, in fact, in Jammu, we have been hearing multiple sounds, Zaka. We have been told that Air Force Station Jammu was on target. Initially, it was thwarted, but then, the sound is still on. We have been told that air defense guns are very much active. As far as, developments in the night are concerned, so we have been seeing major escalation from Pakistan where after, last evening, in fact, day before yesterday and last evening too, they have tried drones and missiles through different in fact, two different military stations here in India, military infrastructure. Jammu is one prime target where they have been, in fact, Zaka, you can hear the sounds as well, the air defense guns where, Jammu is on target, and again we are hearing these sounds where our sources are telling us that Air Force Station was on target, but it was thwarted. Something rocket propelled is being sent. It can be a missile, it can be a UAV as well. We have been told, and we know that how they are using SH-15 as well. But yes, SH-15, there is less possibility that it can come here, even when they are bringing it to that bulge near Akhnur. At this point in time, while we talk about other places, so we have been told that crucial military infrastructure is on target. Of course, we will not tell the location because of limitations, but they are, targeting our crucial air assets. None of them till now is successful. They tried, attacking Delhi as well, but it was thwarted. As far as Pakistan and its assets are concerned, Zaka, we have been told that Noor Khan Air Base, one of their important bases in Rawalpindi, very close to the, headquarters, and in fact, very close to the important infrastructure, was hit last night. Successful hit. In fact, their air assets were targeted, and military aircraft and transport aircraft both are there in the particular, air base. We know that how they have the C-130 transport aircraft in that. They are operating some sort of drones from there. These facilities were hit by the Indian Armed Forces, including very high value target of the AD systems and radars. Shorkot Air Base, that is in Punjab, there we have a JF-17 of Pakistan. It was hit, and in fact Murid Air Base, very important Murid Air Base, they are operating their drones from Murid Air Base as well. It was hit. At this point in time, Zaka, they are trying multiple locations, not in Jammu and Kashmir, but in Haryana, in Punjab, in Rajasthan as well. And these attempts are being thwarted at this point in time. Air defense is very much active. We are still checking. We will be going with the reliable information only. And in some time from now, Zaka, armed forces are going to address the press conference. And meanwhile, we are hearing these constant sounds, possibly of the air defense guns, here in Jammu, because Jammu is on target, Zaka.
All right. Akash, any idea who in the Indian Army or the Defense Forces are going to be briefing? So far in these last 3 days, we've had the Foreign Secretary and the 2 young officers, the women officers from the Indian Army and the Indian Air Force. But this seems to be somebody else. Any word you're picking up on who is going to be briefing, and why the need for this sudden early morning briefing? Because clearly things seem to have ratcheted up a couple of notches overnight in the last 4 or 5 hours.
We are assuming that someone from the IDS would be briefing IDS Integrated Defense Staff. In fact, the coordinated command is there, and someone from IDS would be briefing, because these inputs will be of the Air Force, Indian Army, and the other forces as well. Also, we have been told that there can be a different level representation. Maybe someone from the MEA can also be a part. There is no clarity, but Zaka, as far as this briefing is concerned, so it was important, given the fact that there is a lot of narrative on social media where not just DG ISPR addressing the press conference is putting several sort of information that is not true from Indian side. We have their social media handles that are propagating some sort of narrative, and that's the reason why there was a need for this urgent press conference in the morning. Also because of the sort of operations that have happened throughout the night. We know that how Indian forces have retaliated to the aggression of Pakistan, where they have been trying to attack the military infrastructure here in India from last 2 days. Last night also, there were retaliation, there were operations, but India did not hit them.
Akash, I believe the briefing has begun. My colleague Arunima is telling us that if we can get either her, if we can get a live feed or a phone or an audio feed of the briefing, let's try and go across to her. If somebody can just put her through on the phone. Let's try and make sense of the story for our viewers. The briefing has begun by the Indian Army officials. We're not sure if this is on camera, if this is on record, or this is an off-record briefing, but certainly senior officials of the Indian Army are briefing on the lawns of South Block, is what we're given to understand, to try and get a sense of what exactly is going on here. If we can please connect to Arunima. I've been asking for the last 5 minutes to our assignment desk. Please connect our reporters on the ground. Let's try and make sense of what the story is for our viewers who may be tuning in just now at 5:50 in the morning. It's been a very hot night between India and Pakistan. You can see those pictures. India has hit multiple locations in Pakistan, from Islamabad to Lahore to Rawalpindi. The Noor Khan Airbase in Rawalpindi, one of the biggest that Pakistan has been hit. Can we please put through some reporters to try and make sense of this story for our viewers? There is, of course, a briefing that is happening right now by top Indian Army officials in South Block, on the lawns of the South Block. They will be giving us an assessment of what is going on, what has been going on in these last 4 or 5 hours between India and Pakistan. So the attempt has now gone up a notch from drones. It is scaled up now to missiles. All right, let's go across to Anvit, who is on the phone line. Anvit, where are you and what are you hearing?
Hi, Zaka. Morning. We are in Jaisalmer, and they are observing a complete blackout. They had been shut all lights and vehicular movement from 6 p.m. till 6 p.m. in the morning, and even now vehicular movement has been restricted. What we are reporting, from where we are reporting, is 70 to 80 kilometers from the border, because the last village, that is Ramgarh, beyond that, army is not allowing any civilian movement or any media movement as well. So we are reporting from here, but last night, even from here, we could clearly see the flares in the skies, and we could clearly see the ammunition coming in from Pakistan. But last night had been relatively peaceful. No visuals in the sky. Skies had been clear since last night. But yes, police have been making patrols, heavy patrols. In fact, we had also been hearing sirens, because on the forward areas yesterday, also in Jaisalmer and in Barmer, the sirens were being played out, as some drone sightings were also done. Following that, sirens have been played out, but so far as the ammunition is concerned, nothing has landed into Jaisalmer in the city side. However, some developments were...
We'll come back to you. Aman is also joining us. Aman, I believe there's a briefing by senior Indian Army officials that's going on in South Block. What are you hearing? Pakistan has shut off its airspace now for the next 6 hours till noon. I believe there's going to be a further escalation by Pakistan in the next few hours, but India has hit multiple air bases, from the Noor Khan Air Base to the Sukur Airport in Rawalpindi. Multiple air bases have been targeted by surface-to-air missiles. Let us know what is going on. What are you hearing this Saturday morning?
See, Zaka, what we are hearing from Indian government sources is that Pakistan has launched its counter-strike to Operation Sindoor. On May 7th, we saw India strike through Operation Sindoor, and the officials were saying last evening also that these drone attacks, which were launched by Pakistan over the last 2 days, were more of an intelligence gathering mechanism to assess our air defense capabilities. This seems to be the real attack coming from Pakistan. Of course, our air defense system is engaging all these offenses which are being launched by Pakistan. As you said, they have closed down their airspace for the next 5 to 6 hours. Seems that Pakistan is trying to now hit our air bases and they are trying to launch missiles. That is what we are hearing. The Indian government briefing is about to start. It was to start at 5:45, but it has still not started in the lawns of South Block. Shortly, Indian officials will be briefing us on what exactly is happening. But it seems that this is Pakistan's response. And India is very, very clearly saying that this response is very, very escalatory in nature. We are warning Pakistan to stop this, or India's response to this will be even more severe. Pakistan seems to be escalating the situation, Zaka, and that is what the Indian government sources are saying so far. We'll await the official press briefing, which is to happen in the next few minutes, Zaka.
Okay, Anshul is also joining us from Pathankot. What's happened there overnight? I believe there was multiple drones flying over the Pathankot airbase overnight. What is the latest that you can share with us, Anshul?
So yes, specifically over the last half an hour to 45 minutes, there has been at least 30 to 35 loud explosions that we have heard ourselves over here. I'll just try and move out of the frame and try and give a sense as how close is enemy at this point in time. The hills that you are seeing over there, these hills actually belong to the Pakistan. So we are, in fact, Pathankot is very, very close to the international border, and from this direction itself, there were several projectiles that were launched from the side of Pakistan, but our air defense systems have made sure that all these projectiles that were launched from that end were actually controlled in the air itself. They were blasted in the air itself. Nothing untoward has been reported till now. The Pathankot airbase is absolutely safe, is what we are being told. The situation is still tense because the blackouts are still continuing. There is no electricity across Pathankot over the last 4 hours. The blackout was supposed to end at 4 a.m. It is still continuing over here. There is constant announcements, and there is constant patrolling that is being done by the local police over here, trying to give out this message that people do not need to panic, do not need to step out their houses. They just need to follow the SOPs and everything will be fine. But yes, India's air defense system proving yet again that these Pakistani missiles, these Pakistani drones.
Akash is also there with us. Akash, I believe that off-cam briefing has been cancelled. Now we'll have a regular briefing at 10 a.m. Any idea on why that off-cam briefing has been cancelled and what's going on? What's the word you're picking up from MOD headquarters?
The operations are ongoing, situation is evolving, and that's the reason why they have in fact they have cancelled the briefing. We have been learning, Zaka. In fact, this briefing will be happening after 10 a.m. we have been told, and this will be a regular briefing since we are hearing about several attacks at different places throughout India. Specifically, they are targeting Pathankot, Jammu. In fact, I'm learning about some attempts in Jaisalmer as well once again, but then we'll wait for the confirmation. They are firing ballistic missiles at places. We have been told that there are places where they have been, firing ballistic missiles. Artillery is very much on, at the LC, and situation is evolving. That's the reason why MOD officials may have, cancelled the briefing. But we have been learning. In fact, Pallavi is talking about the briefing that is going to happen at 10 a.m. Zaka, this is the major escalation. We have been talking about it, how India retaliated, and then once again in the morning time, in the daytime now, the attack is on, which is in fact, going towards a major escalation, a war possibly. But then at this point in time, Indian armed forces are very much ready and capable, and they, we have been in fact told that air defense systems are very much active. And in Jammu, in fact, there are attempts at least. There are 5 to 6 attempts in the last half an hour, we have been told, in Jammu, but all of these attempts are thwarted. And in fact, drone attack is there, missile attack is there, and rocket propulsion is something that officers are talking about, possibly a missile when we say rocket propulsion. But Jammu is not the only place. In Srinagar also we have heard a sound, and in fact apart from Jammu and Srinagar, we have been told that in Udhampur also sirens are on. So at this point in time, while India has given it back to Pakistan at 3 different air bases of Pakistan. It seems that Pakistan is once again trying to attack the military infrastructure, specifically the Air Force stations and the air bases. Possibly they want to attack on airstrips or the air assets that we have at the Air Force stations. But yes, an official word is very much expected, because we have been in fact told about several other things. And then I'm hearing the constant sound, Zaka. I want to stress on this particular sound, because Jammu is one prime target. So Jammu is very close to the international boundary, international border. In the initial day, we have seen that how a barrage of drones were launched towards Jammu, and this time around we are learning about missiles. I'm also trying to check the environment. In fact, the clouds where I'm unable to see anything. Very close to the airport I'm standing, and at that particular place only we are seeing. In fact, we are seeing this sort of action where we have been told that missiles are there. Missiles are coming towards the Jammu, Air Force station and the airport. Both are in close vicinity. Also, other than Jammu and Srinagar, we have been told that there is a target in Haryana. I'll of course not name the location, but there is a target in Haryana as well, which has been in fact thwarted. Missile was launched. We know that how a missile was launched towards Delhi as well, the national capital. They clearly want to escalate it further. It was categorically mentioned by the Indian Armed Forces that we don't want to escalate, and that's why we are not targeting a civilian population. But we have seen that how last night in Firozpur a civilian population was targeted. Several individuals were hit because of this sort of target where
Akash,
they
just give me a moment.
hit one civilian.
So the big story happening right now is there's an off-cam briefing by senior officials of the Indian Army. They're saying that there has been retaliatory action that's been carried out. The LOC has been hot for the last 4 or 5 hours. In fact, more than that, it's been hot since last night. But what has happened overnight is Pakistan has now climbed up the escalation ladder from drones, which did not have any explosives. They've now notched it up to drones with explosives. And yesterday, last night, they have now notched it up one rung further in the escalation ladder, trying to hit India through ballistic missiles, including one, a Fatah-2, which was launched in the direction of Delhi. Thankfully, that's been intercepted in the skies over Sirsa. India has retaliated. India has responded to the Pakistani escalation. India has managed to hit at least 3 different air bases in Noor Khan, of course, which is one of the biggest air bases of the Pakistan Air Force. They've also hit an air base in Chakwal, a civil-cum-military airport in Sukur in Sindh. So multiple military installations and civil installations as well have been hit. It's been a combination of drone attacks plus missile attacks. I also want to get more information at 10 a.m. The Foreign Secretary will be briefing. Remember, the last 3 days, it's been the Foreign Secretary along with the 2 young women officers of the Indian Army and the Indian Air Force. So that briefing is going to happen at 10 a.m. That's going to be on the record. Right now, what is happening is an off-record briefing by senior officials of the Indian Army. Let's go across to more reporters who are also joining us. Ishan is joining us from Srinagar. Ishan, again, looks like it's been a very hot night in Srinagar as well as in other parts of the Kashmir Valley.
Well, Zaka, right. This is for the first time also that drones came to Srinagar, Avantipura and Baramulla. Multiple, blasts were heard, and the defense system ensured that none of the air bases was hit. The target was to hit Avantipura Air Base and Srinagar Air Station. We should understand that Srinagar Airport is not just a civilian airport. It's a military army, Air Force air station. So that's why they try to hit the crucial infrastructure. And even 5 or 10 minutes back, we heard in Srinagar, people are waking up to the 2 loud blasts that were heard, possibly intercepting some kind of missiles or some kind of projectile being fired towards possibly airports in Srinagar or Avantipura. These are the main 2 bases. But apart from this, we have been learning that they tried to carry out, drone-based attacks last night on the India's military infrastructure, particularly in Baramulla, which acts as a front line for the line of control. So they might have tried to hit the Indian Army's main assets in Baramulla, Srinagar, and Avantipur. But that has been repulsed. What we have been given also to understand is that security around these vital installations has been doubled, and it's amply clear that they are going to attack these vital installations to basically stop the militaries or air forces advance if at all that happens with Pakistan. But
All right.
during overnight, there has been massive shelling that has taken place both on the line of control in Kashmir and also other areas of Kashmir where people have already left their houses and left for safer destinations.
All right, Aman is also joining us. Aman, what's the word you're hearing from top government sources? It's been a very, very hot night, escalatory action by Pakistan. India responding with both drone attacks as well as surface-to-air missiles. What are you learning from top government sources? I believe the Foreign Secretary will be having that briefing at 10 a.m. for an official word. But what are you picking up on what an escalatory night it's been between Friday night and Saturday morning?
Well, absolutely, Zaka. It's been a big escalation, first from Pakistan and a big response from India. That is what we're hearing from top government sources, especially India's attack on 3 air bases of Pakistan, mainly the Noor Khan Air Base, which has in Rawalpindi, which is a major response by India, because this is now India firing missiles at Pakistan after the relentless 2 days. Pakistan has sent 300 to 400 drones the previous night, and yesterday also these drone attacks have been incessant on our forward, cities, and all major cities of India are now on high alert, because there is also news that Pakistan fired a missile towards India, which has been intercepted at Sirsa. So Pakistan is really escalating the situation. This seems to be their main attack in the last 2 days. Maybe, as Indian officials were saying at the briefing yesterday, that those attacks were mainly to gauge India's air defense system capability and gather intelligence. This seemed to be the main attack which has happened last night, and though it has been foiled to a larger extent, and we'll get details of that at 10 a.m. when the Foreign Secretary and the government brief us on what exactly has happened. But so far it seems Pakistan is escalating the situation. Indian government sources are saying that Pakistan should stop, because if it doesn't stop, the Indian response is going to be even more fierce. India is ready to go to any lengths to protect its assets, to protect its territory from such missile and drone attacks by Pakistan and by hitting Rawalpindi. India has shown the capability it has to hit in the heart of Pakistan. We have seen these visuals on the screen as well. Indian government sources are very clear that India is not going to step back if Pakistan is going to do such big retaliations that we have seen since last night, and big air bases of Pakistan being hit by India. We'll get more details. I think the official press briefing, Zaka, has also been put off for now, because the operation is ongoing. It's a very evolving situation, and the next 2 to 3 hours could be very crucial in determining which way this escalation is now going, Zaka.
Arunima is also joining us from South Block. Arunima, I believe there's been some off-rec information that's been given to reporters. Who was briefing, and sorry, what have they said? What is the information that you have?
Yeah, so this was supposed to be an official briefing, to respond to all that DGISPR has said. But what we were told that since air operations have begun again for the last 1 hour or so, air operations have begun again, even though on ground, this is what we learned, that on the LOC, the ground fire that we are hearing, that has become intermittent firing for now. So the entire focus is on the sky. And because of those ongoing air operations, the briefing has been delayed now. The briefing is now expected at 10. But what we can confirm is that, South Block is carrying on retaliatory attacks after Pakistan carried out its misadventure at 26 locations last night as well. And these are air operations mainly that are going on. DGISPR and Pakistani officials claim that Pathankot and Jammu air bases in India were targeted, but there's no confirmation that is coming in from South Block at this stage about whether Pathankot or Jammu air base was targeted at all, because we have seen over the last 2 days also such attempts were made and the attempts were thwarted. India, however, is confirming that 3 Pakistani air bases have been successfully targeted as a retaliatory action after Pakistan's misadventure. At around 10 o'clock, we're expecting a detailed list of the overnight operations that have been carried out. One must emphasize that what we are being told is that the operation is still ongoing. As we are speaking, the air operations are still on.
So here's what we know, that Pakistan, in a dramatic manner, tried to escalate the attack on India's military installations. I have a list of places that have been hit overnight, or at least the attempt was made by Pakistan to try and hit. It attempted to attack Udhampur, which is a large base that we have. Pathankot Air Base, one of the forward air bases of the Indian Air Force. The Jammu Air Force Station has also been one of the targets of the attack. Sirsa, where the skies above Sirsa is where the Fatah 2, the ballistic missile, was intercepted and brought down. That, we're given to understand, was headed in the direction of Delhi. So it's a major and dramatic escalation by Pakistan over the last 6 hours or so. I suspect it was after the the announcement by the International Monetary Fund that they are releasing that tranche of $1 billion as part of that agreed package for $7 billion over a period of 3 or 4 years. Let me ask you, Arunima, so in response to this, it's clear that Pakistan has escalated and tried to attack India's Air Force and Army bases. India has responded too. Is there any word you're picking up officially from Defense Ministry officials or from senior army sources as to what are the places that India has hit in Pakistan in response to what Pakistan has tried to do?
So before that, Zaka, since you mentioned that, from Sirsa, the target seemed to be Delhi. So what we heard from South Block is that Delhi is absolutely safe, that there was no attempt that was even close to the national capital. So that is one thing that South Block has made absolutely clear, that there's no problem for the national capital. However, on the Pakistani side, the report that we are getting is that Islamabad, Lahore and their air assets were targeted and successfully targeted is what we are being told. However, they're refraining from going ahead and giving an official word or official coordinates, because they do want the foreign secretary and the two officials who we have been hearing over the last 3 days between 10 and 10:30. That official briefing is expected, and they do want to give out the specific names and air bases at that press conference. But indications that yes, we have carried out retaliatory attacks in the Pakistani capital, in Rawalpindi and also in Lahore, and they're emphasizing that in spite of all the bombastic claims that are coming in from DGISPR, none of the Indian air bases have been breached. They're all safe. And the national capital, the misadventure that they wanted for the national capital was stopped way ahead. So Indian air defense is still working, but once again to emphasize that the air operations are still on.
All right, so here are the military installations that Pakistan has tried to attack over the last 6 hours. There was an attempt at the Udhampur station, at the Pathankot Air Force Base, the Jammu Air Force Station, and of course over Sirsa, which again is a large Air Force base, Air Force station in Udhampur as well. There, the missile, the ballistic missile, the Fatah-2, which is a medium-range missile, is about 300-400 kilometers range, which Pakistan tried to send in the direction of the national capital. That has been intercepted and that has been brought down in the skies over Sirsa. So there are at least 4 or 5 Air Force stations that Pakistan has tried to attack, Indian Air Force bases that Pakistan has tried to attack over the last 6 hours. In response, India has hit back and it has targeted at least 3 major air bases of the Pakistan Air Force. The biggest one, of course, the Noor Khan Air Base, right in the heart of Rawalpindi. You've also had an attack on the Chakwal Air Base and the Rafiki Air Base. There's also one on a smaller civilian defense airport in Sukur in Sindh. So at least about 4 locations which are air facilities have been hit by India, both in drone attacks as well as missile attacks. Again, medium-range missiles that have been launched, air-to-surface missiles. Let me go back to our report. Aman is also joining us. Aman, again, just putting this into perspective for our viewers. So up until last night, till that IMF announcement happened, till about midnight or so, Pakistan was sending these exploratory drones, these probing missions. At least on the first night, none of them seemed to have explosives attached. Last night, there seemed to be explosives with some of those drones. But post-midnight or so, this dramatic escalation by the Pakistani Air Force to try and target specifically some forward Indian air bases, and now India in response hitting back and successfully targeting some Pakistani Air Force air bases. This is now a definitive climbing off the escalation ladder. Put it into perspective for our viewers.
Well, absolutely, Zaka. What government sources just told me that, when we attacked Pakistan during Operation Sindoor, we did not target any military installation. These were all terror targets under Operation Sindoor. It is Pakistan which started off 2 days back, by first attacking our military installations, trying to send these drones, to attack the Jammu airport, the other Bhatinda air station, which was mentioned yesterday in the briefing as well, that Pakistan tried to target. It is Pakistan which started it. But yes, over the last 2 nights, what the drones which were sent by Pakistan were more, as you were correctly saying, many were armed, many were not armed. These was most of an intel exercise to assess the capability of our air defense systems, more like a recce missions, which government sources are saying the real attack was kept off till the IMF bailout happened. Soon after the IMF bailout has happened last night, Pakistan has actually launched its operation by trying to target our air bases, and that is why India has retaliated and done this big strike, especially at the Rawalpindi Air Force Base, because that is a major Air Force base of Pakistan. By attacking that, India has shown its capability that Pakistan should immediately de-escalate, because what Pakistan is doing is actually to escalate the situation by trying to target our Air Force bases, our military stations. India did not do that in Operation Sindoor. Our strike was only against the terrorist infrastructure. But Pakistan, by its response, especially today morning, and this news that a ballistic missile was fired towards Delhi is an open, I would say, Zaka, proclamation of war by Pakistan. And, India will respond in greater, greater strength now. That is what sources are telling me, that India will not stop now unless Pakistan stops, because we are committed to defend our military installations, and this kind of an attack by Pakistan will be responded very, very strongly, and we'll hear that, Zaka, from the FS at 10 a.m.
All right, so the Foreign Secretary briefing is going to be at 10 a.m. Likely that he will be flanked by both the Indian Air Force and Indian Army officers, the lady officers. Let's try and bring you up to speed with what India has done in response overnight. It has hit multiple air bases. The biggest one, of course, is the Noor Khan Air Base in Rawalpindi. Rawalpindi, of course, is where the general headquarters of the Pakistan Army is based. This is the heart of the Pakistani Fauj, and it has hit the biggest air base in Rawalpindi, the Noor Khan Air Base. It's also hit an air base in Chakwal, that's also in Punjab. There have been smaller drone attacks in the outskirts of Islamabad. We've had a couple of attacks in Narowal, in Lahore, in Sheikhpura, etc. There's also the Rafiki Air Base in Shorkat, which is in southern Punjab. This has also been hit. So 3 major air bases from Noor Khan and Murid Air Base in Chakwal, the one in Rawalpindi, the Shorkot Air Base, the Rafiki Air Base, and there is a smaller airport, the Sukur Airport in Sindh. So Punjab and Sindh, these are the 2 heartland provinces. They make up for the bulk of Pakistan. Both of those places have been hit. Some of these smaller blasts have been through what they call loitering munitions, these suicide drones, these LMS drones. But some of the bigger attacks on the Air Force stations, we can show that Noor Khan base attack, the Rawalpindi Air Base attack, that was through a major ballistic missile. We're also getting more breaking news. This, of course, in response to what Pakistan has tried to do in India, getting breaking news that there have been at least 3 blasts that have been reported in Udhampur at the military base there. It's again one of our forward bases. There has been some degree of damage. The damage assessment is being done right now. There has been shelling, and this is, of course, keeping the LOC active and hot. There's been massive heavy artillery shelling that's been going on across Surankot, Jammu, Naushera, as well as Rajouri. Let me go across to Ishan with more details on this. So Ishan, the activity, the heavy artillery shelling is happening now, not just across the LC, but also happening across the international border. Akash has more on that. So Akash, Udhampur Air Force Station, I believe, has suffered some damage. What the extent of the damage is, we don't know. They're assessing that right now. But more importantly, there's also heavy artillery fire across the international boundary, Surankot, Jammu, Naushera, as well as the Poonch Rajouri sector.
Right, so a ceasefire violation is there, at the LC, but yes, Udhampur was one target, and Manoj Gupta is, reporting, in fact, that how, Udhampur has got hit, in fact, but in fact, there were sounds in the Udhampur, and there we have the headquarters of the Northern Army Command, and that's why it is very crucial place. It was on target, in fact, day before yesterday. In fact, yesterday it was on target, but we have no confirmation of the hit. But yes, 3, sounds have been heard, in fact, from this particular location. Also, Zaka, in Jammu, I'm learning about a civilian location being hit. They are targeting civilian population, while the attack on the Air Force Station or the air base was thwarted. I'm learning that in Jammu, we have some civilian casualty, possibly, injuries, or I should say, in some time from now, we'll have confirmation. But we have air sirens once again here in Jammu. And, Zaka, today they are launching the ballistic missiles. We know that how they have Fatah series, which has got 120 kilometers of range, and they possibly have been, launching the Fatah missiles. And in fact, there is a plan of further escalation, given the fact that DG ISPR, addressed the press conference and, said a number of things which, in fact, have not been confirmed by Indian Armed Forces. At around 10 a.m. we'll be having confirmation. But yes, artillery fire has been going on in Srinagar. The explosive sounds are, in in fact, very much there, in fact, have been heard by the locals. And Ishan has been reporting from there. In Poonch area, shelling has been happening at the line of control, where we have reported that how civilian population was targeted, a Gurudwara was targeted. In Rajouri as well.
Akash, just stay on with us. I'm going to come back to you in just 1 second. I want to bring our viewers up to speed and give them a degree of reassurance as well that Pakistan has been attempting to hit multiple Indian Air Force bases, forward air bases, but the good news that I can share with you is that all are safe. There's been relatively minor damage that has happened. No casualties, no fatalities in any of these installations. The Pathankot Forward Air Base, the Jammu Air Force Station, the Udhampur Air Force Station, all are safe. That is the word that we have from top government sources. All three of our forward air bases are safe. All personnel have been accounted for. Whatever minor damage assessment is going on, but all three air bases are safe. Arunima has more on this. So Arunima, that's the big picture. Pakistan trying to attack India's forward air bases. All of them are safe. In retaliation, India targeting some of Pakistan's air bases. The Noor Khan Air Base up in Rawalpindi is one of the biggest that they have in the country, and that has been hit badly. You can see from those pictures. Arunima.
Successfully targeting Pakistan is what we are hearing as well. One must underline that officially at 10 a.m. we're expecting location by location, coordinate by coordinate briefing by the Ministry of External Affairs. Most likely Foreign Secretary will take the podium once again, along with the two officers from the Indian Army and the women officers from the Indian Army and the Air Force. But what we are being told is that even though Pakistan attempted to attack Pathankot, they attempted to carry out attacks in Udhampur and also in Jammu. All these three air bases, the air assets were targeted, but Indian Air Defence managed to thwart all these three attacks at Jammu, Udhampur, Pathankot. No damage done. All our assets are safe. There's no casualty, no injury to any personnel present in the in the air base complex.
All right. Arunima, we'll try and come back to you as you try and, look, reporters are spread all across the country, particularly in some of these points that have been hit or attempted to be hit by Pakistan. There has been cross LC as well as cross IB firing. This is heavy artillery shelling that Pakistan has been undertaking for the last couple of nights at least. In the Jammu, Poonch, Rajouri, that sector, in Surankot, in Nowshera, as well as in Rajouri, overnight there's been heavy artillery shelling. Ishan is there with us with more details on that. So just break this down for us. There's been an attempt to hit some of the forward air stations. All of those have been thwarted, but at the same time, Pakistan is also using heavy artillery fire, both across the LC as well as across the IB.
Well, absolutely right, Zaka. Even it started yesterday before the sunset. Generally, they would fire towards Indian positions after sunset, but yesterday they started firing at around 4:30, and then India had to retaliate. This is happening in Uri, this is happening in Keran, Tangdar, Kupwara. Every place in line of control has been impacted by the ceasefire violation. People have been moved, people have been taken out to safer locations and safer shelters, and now we're hearing that the exchange is still happening on the line of control. Look, what we have also heard is that there have been, at least 3 sounds that have been heard in Srinagar, which has woken up people. We're getting messages from people, but we should tell our viewers that there's no need to panic, because there's a lot of panic around after hearing those sounds around Srinagar and other parts as well. As a possibility that they might be also trying to hit India's important assets in Jammu and Kashmir. Yesterday, they tried to attack through drones by sending drones to a couple of locations which are very important for the defense forces, but they were immediately the air defense system ensured that they are brought down. Sources told us at least 8 drones were seen around Srinagar, Baramulla and Avantipur, which hosts one of the big air bases of Indian Air Force in Udhampur. So they try to attack the vital assets.
All right, so Ishan, we'll come back to you. There's some forward air bases, including Udhampur, Pathankot, I believe even Adhampur, again in Haryana, which is again a forward air base, has also been tried to be hit. Akash, what are top Ministry of Defense officials, Indian Army, Indian Air Force officials telling you? Clearly, I think Pakistan is climbing the escalation ladder, no doubt about it. That has been the attempt. The attempt has also been to try and target some of India's forward air bases and Air Force stations. All of those attempts have been thwarted by India. India, in response, of course, has successfully carried out major strikes from the Noor Khan Air Base to the Chakwal Air Base to the Rafiki Air Base. Tell us what you're picking up from top defense sources. Like I said, the attempts at the Air Force stations, the forward Air Force stations in Udhampur, in Pathankot, in Jammu and Sirsa, in all these 4 places have been thwarted by India's air defense systems.
Right, you rightly pointed out the Air Force stations in Jammu and Pathankot specifically are safe, and in fact I'm learning that there is in fact some sort of damage in some civilian infrastructure. We'll get it confirmed by the civilian authorities as well. But till now, all attempts, in fact, have been thwarted, and Dhaka armed forces, in fact, are very much capable and ready. This is what the defense sources are telling us. In fact, at around 10 a.m., we'll get the official word as to what they did, last night, and also what is the sort of, retaliation that they are planning now, given the fact that Pakistan is launching, ballistic missiles and, has shown that they want to escalate it further. Dhaka, we have been seeing that how from last 48 hours, in fact, in the last 72 hours, a number of things have happened. Specifically, we talk about the current times. Yesterday, it was happening in the night hours, but today, in the early morning hours, we have been seeing these attacks specifically targeted towards Udhampur and Jammu, because in Udhampur we have one military base, and there, we have constant sounds here. In fact, in Jammu, ballistic missile is what has been tried here in Jammu as well. It was tried for Delhi, it was tried for one location in Haryana, very crucial location in Haryana. I'm not putting out the details right now, but very crucial location is being targeted there in Haryana as well. It has been thwarted, all safe. In fact, as far as the assets are concerned, so all our air assets are safe. In fact, they have been trying, the core headquarters of Leh, I'm told, and in fact, last night it was tried, but it was thwarted once again. Air defense is in play. In Udhampur, we are learning, several, sounds, in fact, but we have no confirmation on the sort of explosions that are being reported from that particular location. In Punjab also, they have been trying, they have been launching their ballistic missiles for Punjab, in fact, especially in Pathankot, also because of the sort of air defense we have in Pathankot. They might have some sort of input of the sort of platforms that we have in Pathankot, and that's the reason why Pathankot is being targeted, and is a very important Air Force establishment there, that we have in Pathankot, and also in Srinagar, Dhaka, launches are there. And we have been learning that since ceasefire violation is happening throughout the LC, so army is also, retaliating to that. We are having ceasefire violation in Rajouri, Poonch, Mendhar, and in fact, in Kathua also I'm learning that violation is there. But since we have the international border there, so we are waiting for the confirmation, BSF, whether or not BSF is engaged in any sort of firing, because till now it is limited, more on LC, line of control. In Uri and in, other areas of the Kashmir, we have been learning about the ceasefire violation, but specifically in Poonch, we have this heavy shelling going on.
Okay, I want to bring our viewers up to speed on what Pakistan has attempted to do over the last 6 hours or so, and this is specifically right after the amp up of the IMF bailout announcement that happened. So here are some of our forward Air Force stations and air bases. Udhampur, of course, is the headquarters of the Indian Army's Northern Command. Massive military station there. It's the headquarters, like I said. It is, of course, very critical for the entire Jammu region as well as the Poonch-Rajouri region. But Udhampur, there's been some attempt by Pakistan to try and cause damage at the Air Force station there, at the military base there, but that has been thwarted. Also at the Jammu Air Force Station, there has been an attempt by the Pakistanis to try and attack the Air Force Station. Again, I can report to you there is very little, minimal damage there. The Air Force Station is very much functional. Pathankot is one of our forward air bases, one of the largest in the country. It's on the outskirts of Pathankot city. It is literally on the border with Pakistan. Remember, in 2016, it was the Pathankot Air Force Station that was attacked in a terrorist attack. Of course, that after that attack, India tried to give access to an ISI team for a joint investigation. That investigation really did not go any further. This is a massive Air Force Station, one of the biggest, one of our forward air bases. And then, of course, there is the Sirsa Air Station as well, part of the Western Command of the Indian Air Force. So these 4 installations have been tried to be breached by Pakistan overnight. All of it has been unsuccessful. I can report to you that all of our forward air bases, Air Force stations and military bases are safe. If at all there is minimal damage, assessment of which is being done in Udhampur, which is, of course, the headquarters of Indian Army's Northern Command. I want to go across to Arunima. So, Arunima, paint the picture for us at about 6:30 as our viewers are waking up to this Saturday morning. It seems very clear that Pakistan has attempted to go up the escalation ladder. They want to try and take this to the next level. They've been sending in missiles, they've been sending in drones that are fitted with explosives, trying to take out some of India's air bases. All of those attempts have been thwarted. India, in response, has taken out, I'm given to understand, at least 3 frontline air bases of the Pakistan Air Force. What is the big picture this Saturday morning?
Yes, so the source-based information that we have, first thing first, Indians should just have trust in our defense forces. It's all good, it's all safe. Attempts that were made at Pathankot, Udhampur, Jammu, all attempts thwarted. There was an attempt and misadventure towards the national capital of Delhi as well, over Sirsa. I think even that has been, the Fateh missile has been intercepted. So that national capital is safe as well. But what is it that we have done in terms of retaliatory action in Pakistan? Some details just coming in. What we are being told by sources is that there was a calibrated and purposeful military target hit, and the adversary has got a bloody nose after those 26 locations in India that Pakistan targeted last night as well. The Noor Khan Airbase, it was hit. We have been reporting this since morning, Zaka. The strikes have happened near the vicinity of Joint Staff Headquarters at Chakala as well. So there is source-based confirmation coming to that. The jugular of Pakistan, the 14 Corps with 10 and 11 Division in Lahore, that has been targeted, and we are specifically being told that Lahore was struck because they were trying to strike Amritsar. Of course, our air defense took down the attempts against Amritsar as well, but in retaliation, Lahore was struck. Assets of the 15th Division at Sialkot has been activated, is also what our forces are learning, but they are fully prepared. But Siddhant is also here with me. If you can give me a moment, I want to get in his views. What has happened overnight, the ramifications of it as far as diplomatic quarters are concerned?
Well, Arunima, I look at it, in fact, Zaka was also pointing out, they were waiting for the IMF bailout, and there's no doubt about it. There were a lot of international pressure which India could manage to build, on the committee which sanctions it. There is no vote provision there. In fact, India has abstained. IMF has taken note of India's abstention. But how I look at it is in a way that, what they did yesterday was perhaps a recce. This is what I was told. They sent their drones, whether they were armed or they were not armed, I really don't have much idea about it, but 300 and 400 drones were sent just to locate our air defense systems. And perhaps we fooled them again.
Yes, I can add information to that. 500 drones across 24 locations. Most did not have weapon, looked like a surveillance and prodding exercise.
Yes. And, what we really fooled them yesterday. In fact, I was told by top sources in government of India, we even didn't use all our air defense systems. We shot them down with the aircraft guns. This is what I'm being told. That was a recce which they did yesterday. They created a lot of panic. They created a lot of noise around it. In fact, there was to camouflage their operation yesterday night. What they did was they did a press conference. They invited foreign media. In fact, I was going through all that content last evening, Arunima. So they kind of said that what India is doing, they kind of they did spread lie against India in those press conferences. That was kind of a camouflage they wanted to do. But the idea was to struck India today, Arunima, and we thwarted all their attempts. Perhaps what Arunima is reporting for us is that all our bases are safe, and we have hit them harder this time around.
Yes. So that I think the body language, Zaka, I once again want to point out to that Rajnath Singh picture that we got yesterday morning with the 3 service chiefs and the Chief of Defence Staff. The CDS was present, the Defence Secretary was present. That showed, combat uniform, all 3 chiefs were in there, but the body language was confidence, they were smiling, and that is, I think, because they were prepared. They were quite aware of what Pakistan was up to, and they were prepared, and that preparation has held us in good stead early this morning.
All right, so I can also report to you that there was some attempt to try and disrupt the civil as well as the technical airport in Jammu. Those attempts have been thwarted by the Indian air defense systems. Remember, so the big picture is Pakistan has been trying to take out some of India's forward military bases as well as some forward Air Force stations. The attempt has been on some of the biggest ones. Pathankot is one of the biggest and a forward air base that we have. It was also the scene of the 2016 terror attack. That attack has been thwarted. There was some attempt at the Jammu Air Force Station. That has also been thwarted. And then, of course, the Air Force Station in Sirsa, which has also been thwarted. In response, India has attacked the Noor Khan Air Base, of course, which earlier used to be called the Chakala Air Base of Pakistan, one of the biggest just in Rawalpindi, in the heart of the general headquarters, is barely a few kilometers away, the general headquarters of the Pakistan military. So this hits right at the heart of the Pakistani military. But I can report to you that whether it was Udhampur, whether it was Jammu, whether it was Sirsa, whether it was Pathankot, whether it was some of these forward Air Force stations that India has, the attempt by Pakistan has been foiled. India has retaliated in good measure and targeted some very frontline Air Force stations of Pakistan. There has been, of course, increased shelling as well, heavy artillery shelling both across the line of control as well as across the international border. There has been some shelling in some civilian areas in Jammu, but I can report to you, so far at least, there are no confirmations on any civilian casualties yet. Akash is also through with us. Akash, so where you are in Jammu, there's been an attempt to try and hit the Air Force station there, but that has been negated. What are you hearing in terms of where all India has hit Pakistan, particularly the Noor Khan Air Base, which used to be the Chakala Air Base before, one of the biggest. It's right in the heart of Rawalpindi. It's close to their general headquarters. That would not have gone well. And those pictures, that video, I think somebody there, that's the third picture that you're seeing on the right of your screen, somebody capturing that on your mobile phone saying, Bhaijan, they've hit the Noor Khan Air Base. Just walk us through what India has done in response to this very hot night between both countries.
Right. So Noor Khan Air Base, you rightly pointed out in Chakala of Rawalpindi, near Islamabad, has got critical air assets. Zaka, I was mentioning it earlier that how their transport aircrafts as well as their military fighter jets are very much there. They're operating there, several drones in fact from there. And we have been told that, in fact, the air assets in that particular Air Force stations were on target and have been hit successfully. And also, Shorkot Air Force Air Base, in fact, which is in Punjab, it has got JF-17 Thunder aircraft, F-7PG, and several other air assets as well. It was hit, and in fact, we are not learning about the airstrip, but yes, the air assets was on target, and the target was successfully hit. In fact, we are learning about Murid Air Base, that is in Chakwal of Punjab. This is a smaller airbase, but is technically important airbase, and we have been told that primarily supports training and secondary operations. And the drone attack that was launched towards India was very much supported from this particular Air Force station, and we have been told that it has got fighter jets and possibly some drones as well, and it was successfully targeted by Indian forces, Indian Armed Forces. So these three Air Force stations we have got confirmation for several air assets, and in fact the infrastructure was on target and it was successfully hit by the Indian Armed Forces. Also in retaliation, now Pakistan is trying to make a dent, and in fact is trying to hit our Air Force stations, but they are not successful till now. And our air defense is very much working, 80 guns, and in fact the the systems that we have is very much working. It's the daytime now. We have been seeing the escalation particularly in the night time from last 24 to 48 hours, but will it continue in the daytime as well? What will be the next future course of action as far as India is
Akash,
concerned?
I'm sorry to interrupt. The image that I'm showing on the left is also from Jammu. It's a civilian area. There is a temple called the Shambhu Temple in Jammu. We're given to understand there's been a projectile that's hit. We don't know if it's a drone or a missile, but a projectile has hit just outside the temple. No casualties. That is the important thing. You can see the remnants of the wreckage there. This is mobile phone footage that's been shot by one of the individuals there. You can see the wreckage that's strewn all over the place. This is called the Shambhu Temple in Jammu. Again, the good news is that there is no casualties there. There you can see the main gate, the pillars leading into the temple. So on the outside perimeter of the temple complex, there's been a projectile hit. Again, the good news being that there is no reports of any civilian casualties in the Shambhu temple attack. Aman is also joining us. Again, I want to go big picture for our viewers who are tuning in a little past 6:30 this morning, this Saturday morning. There has been a visible amping up by Pakistan. India has retaliated. Pakistan's attempts have been foiled. The attempt was to try and target some of our forward air bases in Pathankot, in Jammu, the military station in Udhampur, etc. But all of that has been foiled, Aman. In response, India is hit back with a combination of drones as well as missiles. And some of the Air Force station attacks in Pakistan have been very, very successful. What are you hearing from top government sources?
The big picture that we're hearing is that the government is very, very clear that April 22nd was the original escalation by Pakistan. India responded to that escalation through Operation Sindoor, and our attack was on the, on the terror infrastructure in Pakistan, the terror headquarters in Pakistan of Jaish, of the LET, of the Hizbul, and this was because Pakistan did not act against them, and over 100 terrorists were killed in the Indian strike. For India, the offensive had ended there. India did not want to take it further beyond there. India very clearly said we did not target any civilian population, neither any Pakistani military infrastructure in Operation Sindoor. The escalation the Indian government feels is now coming from Pakistan. First through these drone attacks for the last 2 nights, which now seem to be, Zaka, more of recce missions. These drone attacks seem to be more to assess our strength of our air defense systems, our alertness, where are our air defense systems located, maybe also to try and exhaust maybe some of our air defense systems before the actual attack comes. Indian government is also now seemingly very clear that Pakistan decided to wait for the IMF bailout before launching its big strike, because it did not want its IMF bailout to be jeopardized in any manner. And this shows that soon after the IMF bailout, Pakistan cleared its airspace today morning and has launched an attack through ballistic missiles, not only at our forward Air Force bases in Pathankot and the Udhampur, it has also tried to attack our major cities. So this is a major escalation by Pakistan. That is what India is saying. India never targeted earlier Pakistan's military infrastructure, but because Pakistan has now, upped in a way the game, India is not shying back, and this attack on the airbase in Rawalpindi by India is to show how deep India can hit. And I think India is still trying to tell Pakistan to get the message to de-escalate. But if Pakistan does not de-escalate from here, Zaka, Indian government sources are telling me that we will also not stop now, and Pakistan will be taught a lesson.
All right. So our reporters are spread across the length and breadth. Ishan is joining us from Srinagar. Akash is joining us from Jammu. In Delhi, we have Arunima and Siddhant joining us from South Block. There's going to be a briefing by the Foreign Secretary at 10 a.m. Last 3 days, the briefing has been done by the Foreign Secretary along with the 2 young women officers of the Indian Army and the Indian Air Force. Siddhant is also joining us from South Block. What are you hearing, Siddhant, in terms of what the MEA has to say? The briefings have been going on by the Foreign Secretary. Any word you're picking up on, our international players trying to intervene? I believe there was a statement put out by the G7. The Saudi Deputy Foreign Minister, who was here in Delhi a couple of days ago, he was in Islamabad yesterday. And this visible upping the ante by Pakistan has happened after the announcement of the IMF, the bailout announcement of $1 billion. What are you hearing from MEA?
Well, that's right, Zaka. In fact, just a short while back, Zaka, we have been told that press briefing by Foreign Secretary, which was expected to take place at 10 a.m., has again got delayed. In fact, they have told us that they're going to inform us again when and where this press briefing will take place today. Perhaps, as Arunima was also pointing out, that the ops are still going on. The focus is on Sky at this point in time, Zaka. And in fact, yesterday, India also decided to close Kartarpur corridor, Zaka. Perhaps that was an announcement which Foreign Secretary made, because India knew that this is coming. This is coming. The time Pakistan will secure the bailout package from IMF, they are gonna hit us. Day before yesterday, Zaka, what happened post midnight? Perhaps they sent more than 300 UAVs. Perhaps we have also been told that those UAVs were not even loaded, were not even armed. Those UAVs were only sent to locate our air defense systems. Perhaps we knew about it, and we did not use our best of the systems in place. In fact, we shot them down using aircraft gun. This is what I'm being told. In fact, since then, India was preparing that what they did day before yesterday was a recce visit. Perhaps, they are going to hit India, and they could target forward bases, Pathankot, Jammu, etc., those locations. So India was fully prepared for it. As you rightly pointed out, at a diplomatic level, perhaps, India is not escalating. Foreign Secretary again reiterated yesterday that the first and the only escalation was the 22nd April attack in Pahalgam. India is only responding to the escalation by Pakistan. In fact, yesterday in the press briefing also, Foreign Secretary highlighted, Zaka, that how religious sites have been targeted in Poonch. There's a convent school which has been targeted.
Yes, Siddhant, I'm going to come back to you. We're getting more information, courtesy Manoj Gupta, our investigations editor, that a bunch of missiles have been fired. I can't reveal the exact number, but a bunch of missiles have been fired from the Srinagar airbase. That too, Pakistan has tried to attack, but there is very minimal damage that has happened there. So from the Srinagar airbase, missiles have been sent, and a Pak Air Force jet, at least one we can confirm, possibly more than one, but definitely one Pakistan Air Force jet has been shot down by missiles that have been sent from the Srinagar airbase. So that is a big development. One Pakistan Air Force jet being downed by India. Remember, Pakistan has a combination of the F-16s, which are the American fighter jets, the fourth generation fighter jet, and also a combination of the JF-17 and the J-10. The JF-17 is the 4.5 generation Chinese fighter jet, and the J-10 the fourth generation fighter jet. So it's a combination of Chinese as well as American military jets, fighter jets that the Pakistan Air Force has. We don't know which of this has been brought down, but at least two Pakistani Air Force jets have been downed by India in missile strikes that have been launched from the Srinagar Air Force Station. Arunima, what more details are you hearing? There was supposed to be an army briefing earlier this morning. I believe there wasn't much information that came from there, but at 10 o'clock, the Foreign Secretary is expected to brief the press. But this big development that we are breaking right now on our screen, at least two Pakistani Air Force fighter jets have been brought down by missiles that have been fired from the Srinagar Air Force Station.
I think this was the air operation which led to the delay and subsequent postponement of the briefing. We got a message early in the morning around 5 a.m., quarter to 5, that by 5:30 there will be a briefing in the lawn, which you can see in my frame in South Block. But when we reached here, we were told that the air operations were still on and there were intense operations that were going on, and therefore it's not feasible to brief and put out the correct picture at this stage, because it was a developing situation, it was an ongoing situation. We were also told that while the entire focus is on the sky, it's the air operations which are giving a bloody nose to Pakistan. On ground, there is intermittent firing that is going on along the line of control. And now I'm hearing that in Rajouri, there is intense artillery fire. Some civilian houses in Dhangri have also taken the hit. So Pakistan is trying to cater to its own domestic constituency by targeting civilians. First, they have targeted civilians in Poonch. Now, similar exercise going on in Uri and in Rajouri as well. So while their air assets are being taken down after their misadventure, they're trying to respond on the ground by artillery firing, which is also being responded to very strongly by the Indian Defence Forces.
All right, so there's going to be a briefing. We know that two Pakistani fighter jets have been shot down by India. What these jets are, I think we should hold back on that, at least the make of these jets, what these jets are. But definitely two fighter jets of the Pakistan Air Force have been brought down by missiles that have been fired by India. All right, we're going ahead and saying that these are Pakistani F-16s. I want to be very, very responsible, very measured and restrained in our reporting that India has shot down two Pakistan Air Force jets. Despite all of this fog of war and all of this confusion that happened a couple of nights ago, we can now report to you early Saturday morning there has been a dramatic escalation, clearly an attempt by Pakistan to climb up the escalation ladder. They have gone up a couple of notches, a couple of rungs in that escalation ladder. India has responded measure for measure. Pakistani Air Force jets, two F-16s, have been shot down by missiles that have been launched from the Srinagar Air Force Station. Akash, what are you hearing from your top defense sources? PAF aircraft down.
I have no independent confirmation on that. Manoj Gupta is bringing us this input where, he has been reporting that how two F-16s have been in fact brought down by the Indian Air Force. So we'll wait for the official confirmation as well. But this is big, Zaka. This is big. We have seen that how, F-16 was very much there, a part of the sort of, activities that happened in 2019 when the dogfight actually happened between MiG-21 and F-16. And even at that time, we know the whole episode of Wing Commander Abhinandan, but this time around, we are learning that, we have shot down these F-16s. I'll check for with the Air Force as well for the independent confirmation. But Manoj Gupta has been reporting that how 2 F-16s, in fact, have been downed by, the Indian Air Force. In fact, we have got several sort of videos, that are, in fact, somewhere confirming, the debris and, in fact, some sort of smoke, coming from a distant place. Ishan has been reporting this. But it is big, Zaka, given the fact that Pakistan Air Force, consider, itself as a superior force. They have always challenged, Indian armed forces and, in fact, Indian Air Force specifically for the dogfight because they think that their machines are superior, their training is superior. And this is one development where, it is a slap on their face where, they have been trying the military establishment, military infrastructure in different places. Here in India, none of, them is successful. But this time around, we are learning that in Srinagar, at least 2 F-16 aircraft have been downed by the Indian Air Force, Zaka.
So 2 Pakistan Air Force jets have been downed by the missiles that have been hit by the missiles from the Srinagar Air Force Station. So bringing you up to speed, the big picture that Pakistan has escalated over the last 6 or 7 hours post-midnight after the announcement by the International Monetary Fund that they were releasing the tranche of $1 billion, part of the $7 billion package that Pakistan has managed to procure from the IMF, emergency bailout money. Right after that, and right after the Deputy Foreign Minister of Saudi Arabia left last night, there's been a dramatic escalation by Pakistan. Multiple attempts at forward air bases, at Air Force stations from Jammu to Pathankot, which is one of the biggest Air Force stations in northern India. In fact, it is bang on the border with Pakistan. It was also the scene of the terrorist attack that happened in 2016. We're also learning that the Sirsa Air Force Station was also one of the targets of attack. But all of that, the Udhampur military station, all of that has been thwarted by India's air defense systems. And now in retaliation, India is hit and brought down 2 Pakistan Air Force jets. They've been brought down over Srinagar, is what we're given to understand. These are deferred visuals we're getting from Udhampur, and the visuals that you're seeing on the left side is India attacking the Noor Khan Air Base, which used to be called the Chaklala Air Base earlier, hosts a big military college as well. It's very close to the general headquarters, the heart of the Pakistani military. There's been a massive attack there on the Noor Khan Air Base by India in retaliation to what Pakistan tried to do overnight. Let me go back to Aman, Arunima, reporters. Aman, again, as we await the Foreign Secretary's briefing in about 3 hours' time, what's the word that you're getting in from our top defense sources? India, of course, wanting to be absolutely certain that we are the responsive authority here. We're responding to the escalation by Pakistan. It is Pakistan that is choosing to climb the escalation ladder.
Zaka, and what government sources are also saying that we were prepared for this. We knew that a major attack by Pakistan will happen. We were very, very clear that the drone attacks which were happening, on Friday night, we also saw these big drone attacks. This was mainly, Friday morning, was mainly to assess our air defense preparedness. Pakistan was waiting for the IMF bailout. This information and this intel was there with the government that the Pakistan will only launch its big strike after the IMF bailout process is over. And that is what has happened absolutely in the way India anticipated. India's defense system was at an all-time high early this morning also, and we were anticipating this to happen. That is very, very clear. India is also saying that, this upping of this escalation by firing these Fatah series missiles, not just on our forward air bases like, Pathankot and Jammu and Udhampur, but also at our major cities, especially Delhi, is a major, major escalation by Pakistan. This shows that Pakistan's intentions are not good. We have to safeguard our territory. We have to safeguard our assets. And that is why we've hit at the heart of the Pakistani, army in Rawalpindi, the Chakala Airbase. A very, very secure facility inside Pakistan, which India has managed to hit. This shows that India is giving this warning to Pakistan that you need to stop here, because if you escalate further, India then will not stop, because India considered Operation Sindoor as it's a major operation, in retaliation to what happened on
All
April
right.
22nd in Pahalgam. But this is now showing that Pakistan, Zaka, is in no mood to stop, and India is responding in equal measure.
So there's also visuals we're showing on the top right of your screen, which is from Jammu. It's a Shambhu temple. There's debris of a projectile that you can see strewn all over the place. This is just on the outer perimeter of the temple. Let me also go to Arunima. Arunima, who's in South Block for us. Arunima, what are you hearing? What are you hearing from your top government sources? This Pakistani jets being downed, it's a huge statement by India. Pakistan Air Force jets that have been shot down over Srinagar airspace. But the attempt by Pakistan to try and target some of our forward military stations, forward air bases, that has been thwarted. And in response, India has targeted, among others, the Noor Khan Air Base or the Chaklala Air Base, which is one of the biggest that Pakistan has. Also the Chakwal, the Murid Air Base, again in Punjab. And you also have one more, the Rafiki Air Base. 3 air bases of Pakistan have been targeted in missile strikes by India. What more do you have?
Yes, so Zaka, they had put out a statement late last night saying that 26 places were targeted, and they're just sticking to that for now as far as official word goes. Yes, they have told us that the intense air operations are going on, but on that specific input that Manoj Gupta has about India taking down a Pakistani jet, the South Block is not confirming that as yet, and understandably so perhaps, because even day before yesterday night there was intense speculation that similarly a Pakistani jet had been down and a Pakistani pilot had been taken into custody, but India has remained non-committal. They've not confirmed, not come on record on that. So in this case also, I think they will take their time, and once they are ready to share the details, only then will they come out with an official confirmation. Because of course, even though both sides officially are just calling this a conflict, the terminology of war is not being used officially. The fact is that if that is the situation, and if you have someone in your custody, then the Geneva Convention will apply. Prisoner of war rules will apply. That perhaps is the reason why they're calibrating their next step. But Manoj Gupta is learning that the air operations has resulted in one more bloody nose for Pakistan. Their top of the line asset, their top of the line aircraft has been down. We're not taking the names and the details as yet. But there is worrying news coming in from the line of control as well. Intermittent firing is targeting civilian population there in Rajouri, in Poonch, in Uri. It has been on and off. Intermittent is what we've seen over the last 3 hours. But while India is giving them a bloody nose in the sky, they're trying to retaliate by taking out their frustration on civilians.
All right, Arunima, stay on with us. So if you're joining us at 7 o'clock, top of the hour this Saturday morning, it's been a hot night between India and Pakistan, both along the line of control as well as the international border. But the important one is the air attacks. There have been attempts by Pakistan to try and neutralize some of our forward air stations, forward military bases. Let's look at what Pakistan has attempted to do, and I'll get to what India has done, and successfully at that, in response to that. Udhampur is the headquarters of the Indian Army's Northern Command. The attempt there has been to try and neutralize the Air Force station. It's a smaller Air Force station there. Pathankot is one of the biggest. In fact, it is our forward air base. It's spread over 2,000 acres, multiple, squadrons of our fighter jets are stationed there. It was the scene of the 2016 terror attack. Again, that has been foiled by India. In Jammu too, the Air Force station there, the Pakistanis tried to try and neutralize. Why is this happening at the level of the Air Force stations? That is the first line of defense. When countries go into conflict, when states go into conflict, the first attempt is to try and neutralize the ability of the enemy to scramble his jets. That's what Pakistan attempted to do. Sirsa too, again part of the Western Command. It's one of our big Air Force bases, stationed to squadrons of the fighter jets. This is what Pakistan was attempting to do. In response, what has India done? India too has targeted Pakistan's forward air bases. Let's get out that second map. What India has done in response to what Pakistan tried to do. And you look at this map, what stands out are the air stations that India has attempted to take out. And you can see those pictures as well from the Noor Khan Air Base in Rawalpindi. This is This is one of the biggest air bases that Pakistan has. It played a role in the 1965 and 1971 wars as well. This was earlier called the Chaklala Air Base. It is right in the heart of Rawalpindi. The general headquarters, Rawalpindi, is not too far from the air base. In fact, there is a famous Pakistan military college that's housed inside the Chaklala Air Base. It's now been renamed as the Noor Khan Air Base. You saw those pictures recorded by an individual, a civilian there, looking up at the big cloud of fire and smoke going up at the Noor Khan Air Base. Then further south, the Chakwal Air Base, it's called the Murid Air Base, again was active in the 65 and the 71 wars. The Chakwal Air Base too has been hit and hit successfully by India. And then you have a smaller one in Shorkot, it's called the Rafiki Air Base. Again, a lot of transport aircraft, the C-130s, the Il-76s, they've been housed in some of these air bases. The Shorkot Air Base in southern Punjab has been hit as well. And Sukur, which is a civilian defense technical airport, Sukur has also been hit in Sindh. So basically in the heart of Punjab as well as in Sindh, these are the two biggest provinces in Pakistan. They have been successfully hit by Indian Army and by Indian Air Force. So what happens when a conflict begins? The first attempt by both parties is to try and take out the other side's air bases, because the ability not to be able to scramble jets, that is a significant tactical advantage in any conflict. So the attempt by both sides has been to try and take out each other's air bases, particularly forward air bases, render the runway unusable. That is the attempt. Once the runway becomes unusable, then it's difficult to scramble your jets, and thereby you are taking off a tactical advantage that the enemy has. That's what India has done last night to some of these forward air bases in Pakistan. Noor Khan, of course, this will have huge ramifications that are running through general headquarters, the military headquarters of Pakistan. Pakistan's attempts, whether it's in Udhampur, in Pathankot, in Jammu, in Sirsa, have been thwarted, and India in response has carried out significant damage to some of the air assets that Pakistan is hosting. Akash is there with us from Jammu. Ishan is there with us from Srinagar. Arunima in South Block. Siddhant is also joining us from South Block. Akash, first things first, the Jammu Air Force Station, Pakistan did try to take down the Jammu Air Force Station and render the runway unusable, but that has been thwarted by India. What are you hearing from what attempts have been made by Pakistan overnight and what India's response to that has been?
Zaka, possibly they have been trying the batteries, the air defense batteries, because the locations, I will not specify, but the locations that they have been trying, are somewhere carrying the air defense batteries and the systems, and they want to, destroy the air defense system, given the fact that, yesterday it was done by India. Last night also they tried several Air Force stations, but they failed in that, and in fact after India retaliating back, they are trying it once again in the morning. We have been learning about Pathankot, that how they tried Pathankot Air Force Station. We have been learning about Udhampur and also in Jammu. In Jammu, I was hearing sounds till 30 minutes back, but now it seems that it has stopped. And in fact, civilian population was on target as well, because they want to, spread panic here in India because, their narrative on social media seems not working. Indian Air Force and in fact Indian Army or the armed forces for that matter are coming up with official statements. We have been seeing the briefings on a daily basis, and in fact Indian media is acting responsibly, and this is the reason why Pakistan is frustrated and they want to spread panic. They are targeting civilian population as well. We have seen Firozpur, we have seen today Jammu as well, that how there was some sort of destruction in the civilian area. As far as the air defense system is concerned, so we have been reporting that how they are targeting the airstrips, not just airstrips, so that jets cannot be scrambled, but also the Air Force air defense systems. S-400 we have been reporting about S-400. We have been reporting about Akash, Pechora, and everything else related to it. There is an open source information that is available. A maximum of it is not true, but yes, we won't reveal the exact details and the specific details. But they have been trying air defense systems. We have been learning about ceasefire violations at the LC in different areas in Rajouri and Poonch specifically, where fighting was on till 10 minutes back, and we have been learning about Kashmir as well. Manoj Gupta is talking about their fighter jets, in fact down by Indian Air Force. We will be looking for some more confirmation on that as well. But yes, it is big development where they have been failing in every of their attempt, but Indian Air Force, Indian Armed Forces have not only hit them in their house, but also have been destroying their jets and also the drones that they have been sending.
Okay, Akash, stay on with us. Ishan is also joining us, but before I go to him, we can report to you that the Air Force Station in Udhampur is safe. The Jammu Civil and Technical Airport, both are safe. Pakistan has been targeting civilians. We're given to understand, and we saw those pictures of the Shambhu temple in Jammu, where there has been wreckage of some missile that we can see. In Janipur, Rehari and in the Udhampur parts of Jammu have been targeted. The bordering areas of Rajouri have been targeted. Araspura has been targeted. And there have been ceasefire violations in Arnia, Uri and Akhnur, all of which are, of course, on the line of control. So there have been ceasefire violations on the line of control. There has been violations across the international border in Rajouri, in Araspura, in Udhampur, Janipur and Rehari. These are all in Jammu. So both on the IB as well as the LC, there have been heavy artillery shelling that Pakistan has tried to carry out. Also, that important word that we got overnight, Pakistan launched the Fatah-2 missile. It was headed in the direction of the national capital is what we are given to understand. But India's air defense systems thwarting that in the skies over Sirsa in Haryana. And that is a major escalation by Pakistan in response. India has hit back, and you can see the picture in the middle, which is the Noor Khan Air Base, one of the forward air bases of the Pakistan Air Force, one of the biggest, in fact, that they have, played an important role in both 65 and in 71. It used to be called the Chaklala Air Base before, houses the Pakistan Military College there as well. That has been now attacked in a significant way by the Indian Army and the Indian Air Force. Let's also go across, if we can, do we have Ishan? If we have Ishan, we can go to him. All right. Arunima, coming back to you again. So we have two sets of action that are happening. One, of course, the ceasefire violations and the heavy artillery shelling that are happening both at the LC and in the international border. And then you have this missile and drone activity that's happening courtesy the Indian Air Force, which is trying to take out some of Pakistan's forward air bases. Tell us what a night it's been between India and Pakistan in these last 6 or 7 hours.
Yes, so what we are hearing as far as ceasefire violation goes, that the firing in Jammu, in Rajouri, in that division has stopped over the last 15-20 minutes, about almost leading up to half an hour. We have not heard the intense shelling that was going on. This was intermittent firing in any case, and South Block was confirming that this has been going on off and on. The last half an hour or so, it seems to have gone down. However, the bad news for Pakistan is that one of their top-line aircraft has been taken down. That's what Manoj Gupta is reporting, and looks like that for now, as the sun has come out nice and bright, for now Pakistan's misadventure has been halted. But come evening, will they make an attempt again? Over the last 3 days, consistently they have tried to breach our airspace and been thwarted by our air defense system. Even this morning, we got a confirmation from South Block, from the defense sources, that yes, the attempt was made at Udhampur, the attempt was made at Pathankot and at Jammu. In Jammu, they managed to strike civilian areas. A temple a missile landed near a temple, and some houses were damaged.
All right, Arunima, give me a moment. We're just showing pictures of wreckage from a drone. This is in Amritsar, in the outskirts of Amritsar, in the rural parts of Amritsar, I believe. You can see the wreckage of the drone there. Do we have audio on that clip? If we do, I think we should try and play up that audio. Clearly, you can see some of the wreckage, some of the damage from last night. All of that wreckage parts being sort of strewn around the place. These are from the rural fields of Amritsar. I believe some cops are taking this footage. Civilians there in the vicinity as well. These are on the fields. The fields, of course, have been plowed for the sowing season. There you can see the remnants of the wreckage there of what looks like a drone. We don't know if this was an exploratory mission, a probing mission, or whether there was any kind of explosive that was attached with this drone. From this wreckage, it's difficult to identify what make it is or which country's drones these are. But India did call out yesterday in the press briefing Turkish drones that were made by Turkey and used by Pakistan to send on that exploratory mission that happened on the first night, the night of 7th and 8th of 8th and 9th of May, where you can see some of the cops there standing on the fields. This is what happened overnight in Amritsar. You can see those pictures of the remnants, the wreckage of a Pakistani drone there in the fields just in rural Amritsar. Let me also get in a word from Siddhant if he's there. Siddhant, so Foreign Secretary is going to brief in about 3 hours' time. Likely he will have the two women officers as well, Colonel Qureshi of the Indian Army and Wing Commander Singh of the Indian Air Force. What is the assessment that India is having right now in these last 6 hours or so? Because there's been a visible escalation and climbing of the escalation ladder by Pakistan overnight.
Well, that's right, Zaka. In fact, we've been told that the press briefing of Foreign Secretary has got delayed. In fact, now this press briefing will take place later in the day when the armed forces will have full assessment of the situation. Zaka, talking about the developments which have taken place in last 24 to 48 hours, perhaps, there were 300 to 400 drones which were sent to India. They were dropped into India from Leh to Sir Creek, and in fact these drones were largely unarmed. These drones were sent day before yesterday to locate our air defense systems, but we understood that why this is being done, and we had fired and brought all of them down, all of the drones down through our air through our air guns, and perhaps at that moment only India understood that Pakistan is planning something big. Then what they did, Zaka, they did series of press conferences, perhaps camouflaging their yesterday's to camouflage their yesterday's operation, because they also didn't want the entire IMF bailout to get jeopardized, and perhaps they did series of press conferences, raking up Samjhauta Express blast, raking up issues like 26/11, that how India did not send witnesses to Pakistan for the trial purposes, etc., etc. So those things were said in the press conference. But India knew that they are gonna they are planning something
okay
big.
just give me one second, Siddhant. These are shots from Lahore. It seems like a posh area. You can see the wreckage of some destruction, some material that's been used. You can see a big sort of smoke and fire going up. We don't know if this is a missile or a drone. It doesn't look like a drone. It looks much more bigger in that sense. It looks more like a projectile of some form of missile that's been used. This is in Lahore. It looks like on the outskirts of a major road. Whether this is in a deeply populated part of the city or whether it's on the outskirts, we don't know again. But this is from Lahore, and you can see fire and smoke on the sidelines of a major road. Whether this is a highway or an arterial road, you can see civilians there trying to capture the images. It seems like fields that are just off the road. The fields seem to be on fire, and you can see the remnants of a projectile as well. It doesn't look like a drone. It looks much bigger in size. It looks like some kind of missile remnant that has fallen there in Lahore. So these are the images that we're getting in from Lahore of what India has done. It's one of the places that India had targeted in Lahore last night in response to what Pakistan has been doing, trying to take down some of the Air Force stations and the military stations as well. So bringing you back to what happened overnight, we also know that 5 missiles have been fired from the Srinagar Air Force Station. 2 PAF jets, Pakistan Air Force jets, have been brought down. The image that you're seeing on the left-hand side of your screen is from a place called Lasjan. You can see the wreckage of what seems like a projectile. It seems like an explosive added ammunition, added a drone that's been taken down. Parts of some of the remnants of this wreckage you can see on the left side of your screen. I want to go across to Ishan. Ishan, what more details do you have?
Well, what we know that some part of it has fallen into the residential compound of a house, and the mobilizing of troops has started around the location. There was definitely a dogfight that we're given to understand, and air-to-surface missiles were activated immediately after the activity was detected. What we have given to understand is that the Srinagar airport and every particular base is running on a high alert to ensure that none of the Pakistani aircraft enters the Indian airspace. And if there is any possibility, they are shot down immediately. And also what we know so far that the forces are trying to ensure that if at all there's a possibility of further escalation in Srinagar or areas surrounding it, particularly the defense establishment, that aggression is dealt with severely and ensured that they are able to hit back at those targets from where these missiles are coming. We don't want to give out any operation details, but for now, what we have been given to understand is that the debris has been found, and there's a possibility either a jet or some projectile which was fired has landed in a residential area near Srinagar. It's close by to the highway connecting Srinagar to the rest of India, but a debris has definitely been found. More troops have been mobilized to that location, as we are also heading towards that location to give you an exact clarity on what it is and whether really an aircraft has been shot down on the outskirts of Srinagar.
All right, stay on with us. Lasjan, I believe, is a place on the outskirts of Srinagar. You can see wreckage. We are given to understand that this is wreckage from some kind of an aircraft. That's the word, the preliminary word that seems to be coming. You can see one of the motors that's strewn around. I believe parts of this wreckage have fallen into a residential compound of an individual who's living there in a place called Lasjan. What more can you tell us? Is there any word, Ishan, about what is this wreckage, what it likely brought down? I mean, is there any word? Some preliminary information seemingly suggesting that this is one of the Pakistan Air Force jets that was brought down, but it seems quite small. Some smaller parts seem to have fallen in this individual's residential compound.
Well, yes, but it can be anything. As of now, there are no confirmations about what it is, but there are reports that there was a dogfight which took place over Srinagar. There are further details that we don't want to speak about at the moment, but definitely sources indicating that there was a dogfight over Srinagar and possibility of aircrafts being shot down has not been eliminated. What will give further confirmation is that once they'll be able to find the wreckage, they'll be able to spot it, they'll be able to see it, and then only can we have confirmation that any fighter jets being brought down. But there's a possibility that the sort of action that we have been witness to or what we have heard from the top officials, it seems like the India's surface air missiles possibly had been able to hit any projectile of aircraft or incoming thing that came from Pakistan has been hit down. And what we have been given to understand is that the systems have been activated around Srinagar to ensure the safety of residents as well, because there's a densely populated area where this projectile has fallen, and now the assessment is being made what it really is, and further details are awaited. The senior officials from the Air Force and other forces are now trying to reach out to this location to ensure that they're able to take this projectile in their custody, and if there is a jet which is lying around, that possibility cannot be eliminated as far as the sources are telling us.
All right, we're also getting word from Akash, if he's there, as we look at the wreckage of this, likely from a downed fighter is what we are told, a Pakistani Air Force fighter jet. This is in the Lasjan area in the outskirts of Srinagar, as Ishan is trying to make his way there. Akash, I believe your sources are saying that there was a dogfight as well?
Yes, Zaka. In fact, I have been learning that there was a dogfight, possibly after which, we have downed these Pakistani jets. Now, we are not sure if, because of the dogfight, it came down, or because of the air defense systems, it came out. But yes, wreckage is there, and in fact, we have been seeing the parts. You rightly pointed out, it seems like some motor or some other part of the aircraft. We are still not sure as to which aircraft it was. Reports are suggesting that it can be one F-16, but we'll wait for the official confirmation for that. But yes, sources, in the armed forces are somewhere confirming that a dogfight indeed happened between the Pakistani and Indian jets, and it was an intense fight. Operations are still on. I won't reveal much of it, but yes, activities have been happening. They have been trying missiles since morning, but till now, we haven't seen any sort of major damage as far as military infrastructure is concerned. Yes, Air Force is very much involved in the operations. Air Defense is very much there in the operations. Whether or not a dogfight is still happening or it has happened, in the past 1 hour, 2 hours, we are not sure about it. But yes, dogfight happened at one point in time, and possibly after which, we have brought down these two Pakistani jets, in the Kashmir and in fact in the nearby areas. We'll get more details, Zaka.
All right. Ishan is also headed out to this Lasjan area. How far is it out from downtown Srinagar? And do we know any further information about where this has landed, Ishan, and whose house this is? These are, so I want to be very clear, and we should be very clear with our viewers. This image is from Lahore. this is the likely remnants of a projectile or a missile that India has hit Lahore with. You can see some of the fields just off the main road up in fire. You can see some civilians trying to take pictures of what is happening. So this is Lahore. I want to be very, very clear. We should tab that with where the location is of these pictures. And the other image that we were showing, the daytime image, this is overnight. The daytime image that we were showing is from an area called Lasjan, which is on the outskirts of Srinagar, where you can see some of the wreckage of what is believed to be a Pakistan Air Force jet. Can we go back to Ishan to try and find out, do we have any information on where this has fallen? I believe it's the house of some individual, who this person is and what he has managed to find in his residential compound. How far out is this place from downtown Srinagar, for example? All right, we've lost Ishan. We'll try and go back to him. So, two separate images. The one on your left is the one from Lahore overnight, shot by some Pakistani civilians. You can see a bunch of them that are gathered just off a main road. It looks like a highway of some sort, but just off a main road. And you can see fire in the background. Some of the fields are up in fire. There's a lot of smoke, black smoke coming up. And you can see the remnants of a projectile, a wreckage of a projectile. We don't know if it's a missile, whether that's a drone. It's unlikely it's a drone because it looks much bigger than a drone. It looks more like some kind of a missile, a short-range one, if you will. And these are images on the left again of the Shambhu Mandir in Jammu. You can see that on the top right part of your screen. There is wreckage of a Pakistani projectile that's been found there on the outer perimeter of that temple. So they've been trying to hit civilians. Massive damages across the LC, where ceasefire violations have been happening for 3 nights now. I believe in Rajouri, for example, a senior government official has also unfortunately lost his life. That's been tweeted by the Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, Mr. Omar Abdullah, that a senior government official has lost his life there. I think Arunima has more details on that, so maybe we can go to her to try and get that sense. But pictures that we're showing from Lahore on the left, fields up on fire, and the wreckage of what looks like a missile. And then you have on the top right of your screen images of the wreckage from a temple in Jammu, the Shambhu Mandir in Jammu. But Arunima, the details that you have of a government official unfortunately losing his life in the shelling that has happened in Jammu overnight.
Yes, so Rajkumar Thapa, he was an assistant, district collector level officer in Rajouri. A shell landed at his residence during, intense firing in Rajouri, the ceasefire violation that was happening, and a shell landed at his residence, and he was subsequently rushed to the hospital, but he is no more. And Chief Minister Omar Abdullah, in fact, has tweeted his condolence message. What Chief Minister has said, he's confirmed that this is a devastating news that is coming in from Rajouri. He says we have lost a dedicated officer of the Jammu and Kashmir.
All right, Arunima, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but these are shots that we're getting of India intercepting some of these Pakistani missiles. This is from last night. We don't know the location of where this has been intercepted, but you can see the wreckage, huge smoke going up in what seems like a field. But this is the image of India intercepting Pakistani drones. Can we have the location of where this has come from? Checking with our producers at the back end. But these are live pictures, not live, these are pictures that happened from last night. And then you can see the aftermath of the wreckage of the drones that have fallen in what looks like fields. We're given to understand that this is from Jammu. If we can get Akash to walk us through these pictures. Akash, this seems like some kind of CCTV footage that's been recorded overnight. You can see two separate visuals. One is the drones going up. You can see those flares in the sky. There you go. The flares up in the sky. And then the second image that you can see, the second visual that you can see is of the wreckage, this massive fire going up in what looks like a field. Akash, what more can you share with us about specifically these pictures?
So, Zata, while we know that drones have been sent by the Pakistani forces towards India, we know that many of these drones are being operated from the forward post of Pakistan, the military post of Pakistan. This is one video where Indian Army has basically destroyed one such post where, which was in fact earlier a terrorist launch pad. Infiltration was happening in that particular area, and there were inputs in fact that, it is happening from that particular post. It is working as a launch pad. And now we were learning that, drones are being operated from that particular place. This post has been destroyed by Indian Army. It is near Jammu, and it has been destroyed by Indian Army. These are the visuals where we are seeing, in fact, the visuals, fire coming out, and in fact, after the hit, in fact, the smoke and every other aspect of that particular hit. These are the visuals. The Indian Army has basically destroyed this Pakistani post, which was, carrying out this sort of infiltration, and in fact, the attempts were happening for last so many days, in fact, and in fact, this particular post was facilitating the drone movement, and in fact, drones were launched from this particular post. There were inputs, and after that Indian Army basically has hit this particular post, Zaka.
Stay on with us as we show these pictures, as well as multiple pictures that we're getting from Lahore, as well as from Jammu and Srinagar. In Srinagar, on the outskirts, in a place called Lasjan, we're given to understand that there are remnants of a Pakistan Air Force jet that have landed in the residential compound of one individual. We were showing you those pictures a moment ago, but these are images, CCTV images likely of India intercepting these Pakistani drones. There you go. That's the first set of images. You can see the intercept happening in mid-sky. And then the next set of images are the remnants of the wreckage up on fire and smoke in what looks like fields. This is from the Jammu region, is what we've given to understand. Siddhant, in terms of diplomatic maneuvers, have you heard anything, any interventions, anything from the Americans, the Europeans? The Saudis, of course, were here both in Delhi as well as in Islamabad. But it seems like, the level of intervention seems to be far less, certainly from what President Trump and Vice President Vance have said, that it seems like India and Pakistan's problem, and it's up to India and Pakistan to sort it out.
Well, that's right, Zaka. In fact, we are also getting statement from G7 foreign ministers, Zaka, and in fact, they have unequivocally condemned Pahalgam terror attack. And in fact, that statement could be seen more inclined towards India. And in fact, the G7 foreign ministers have also urged for a de-escalation. As you rightly said, that a junior foreign minister of Saudi Arabia day before yesterday came to India. In fact, he met Minister Jaishankar. His convoy was in fact spotted outside Prime Minister Modi's residence, though there were no photographs released by either side. Yesterday, he was in Islamabad. Perhaps there was a meeting with Shehbaz Sharif and Army Chief Asim Munir. And in fact, those photos were made public by the Pakistani side. In fact, now we also got release from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, in fact, confirming that that the junior minister was the envoy of Saudi Arabia. Perhaps it was an effort which was given by Saudi Arabia to de-escalate tensions between India and Pakistan. Now, Zaka, as you rightly said, as far as United States is concerned, perhaps, they have condemned the attacks. In fact, they extended full support to India at all levels in United States. All offices have perhaps condemned the attack. But yes, the last interview of J.D. Vance, perhaps the remarks that he made, that, it gave a sense that, America is not much interested in de-escalating tensions between India and Pakistan, or rather America does not want to be the part of another war going on, or perhaps a part of a peace process of another conflict, rather, Zaka, which has started. So that could be America's strategy, Zaka. But having said that, it is very important to highlight, Zaka, that this action by Pakistan is coming after the IMF bailout was announced. Perhaps the world should take note of it, and this is exactly what India said yesterday at the board meetings, that how Pakistan misuses the funds for the terror activities. And in fact, there is also a chapter on Pakistan misusing funds for terror activities in IMF itself. India cited that chapter only to get the funds.
All right, Siddhant, just give me a moment. These are visuals. I want to once again go back to these pictures. This is India intercepting drones, a Pakistani post from where these drones were sent. We're given to understand that this is in the Jammu region, so you can see two separate sets of pictures. One, the interception that's happening, likely by the indigenous air defense systems, the Akash missiles. And then the second set, this is the second set of visuals that you're seeing, which is the wreckage, the fire and the smoke after the interception, the wreckage falling onto what looks like fields there in the Jammu region. So you can see both these sets of images. These are CCTV images from last night. It's been captured on closed-circuit television. You can see those flares going up in the sky, the interception happening up in the sky, and then the wreckage falling out in the fields. So if we can go back to Akash. Akash, just walk us through these pictures as my colleague Anand is also gearing up to show us some of these images. We have separate images from Lahore. This is the image from Jammu region that we're seeing, the flares up in the sky and the interception happening. Arunima, I don't know if you can see these pictures, but what are you also hearing from top defense sources about what seems like not just a drone set of attacks now, you're seeing missiles and also reportedly word about 2 Pakistani Air Force jets being brought down in the skies over Srinagar?
Yes, in fact, just on the outskirts of Srinagar, there is an area called Pantha Chowk. When you move from Srinagar towards Jammu on that highway, the first place that you come to outside of Srinagar is Pantha Chowk. And that is where an intense search operation is currently on with multiple cordons being laid out by the military, by the paramilitary and by the local police to look for those Pakistan Air Force pilots. It is being suspected that they could have ejected around Pantha Chowk, and there's an intense search that is on there. Help from the locals have also been enlisted. Manoj Gupta, in fact, confirmed to us a while back that a Pakistani jet has been taken down near Srinagar, and post that we got this confirmation that there is this intense search operation that is on. So if it is confirmed indeed that these 2 pilots are near Pantha Chowk, then it will just change the dynamics of the conflict perhaps that we are seeing. You must have noticed, Zaka, all through social media, every time you speak about the India-Pakistan conflict, Abhinandan's name comes out after our fighter pilot who was after Balakot, taken into custody by Pakistan. They crack jokes about that incident, but it seems now the tables are turning on Pakistan. On the other side, I was also telling you how intermittent firing has been going on along the line of control. So the bad news from there is that one assistant district divisional commissioner level officer, Mr. Thapa, is now deceased. He's no more. A shell landed at his residence. So Pakistan is continuing to target civilian areas in Rajouri, Poonch, Jammu. A temple was targeted. A temple's wall was damaged. There were some houses near that temple that was damaged as well. So for now, it's all clear. It's a bright sunny day right now, and the input that we're getting is that things have calmed down, but the ramifications, what has happened overnight is still on, and we're expecting that briefing also in a short while from now, where India will officially confirm what has happened last night.
All right, so we have pictures from Lahore, pictures from Jammu. These are all images that we are broadcasting here on CNN News 18. So just to bring you up to speed, there has been an escalation in the drone and missile strikes from Pakistan's side overnight over the last 6 hours, specifically after the IMF announcement happened. And then India, in retaliation, has targeted at least 3 major air bases, including the Noor Khan Air Base, the old Chaklala Air Base of Pakistan. That you can see the smoke and fire going up there. This is in Lahore, likely again a missile, Indian missile that landed up there. You can see the fields up in flames, and then of course the interception of the Pakistani drone launch pad somewhere on the other side of the Jammu region. You can see the intercept happening mid-air, and then that's the Noor Khan Air Base, one of the biggest, the Chaklala Air Base. It's bang in the middle of the military complex in Rawalpindi. The general headquarters is not too far away from there. It has a Pakistan military training college as well, and then in Rawalpindi, in the heart of the city itself. So Anand is also joining us here in our studio. So Anand, it's been a very hot night between India and Pakistan.
Hope the international community is watching. There's a reason why Bharat was very clearly, vociferously against the IMF bailout. Soon after the bailout happens, look at this. Let's look at these visuals. This is where the tube drones were being found. This was the tube